He was the strongest hero the world had ever known, and this is the story of how his own comrades left him to die and how his revenge began. It all started when the world changed. Massive purple vortexes, known as gates, ripped open the sky, connecting our world to dimensions filled with monsters. And from those gates, all hell broke loose. Monstrous creatures poured out, threatening to wipe humanity from the face of the earth. But with this new threat came a new hope. A small fraction of the population awakened to incredible magical abilities, becoming humanity's only line of defense against the endless tide. And at the very top of these awakened heroes was the elite team known as the Golden Seekers. We see two of their core members, the mighty Ingolf von Dietz, a mountain of a man wreathed in golden power, and Claudia Bourgeot, a healer whose light could pierce any darkness. The team was an assembly of powerhouses. Nathaniel Cavell, a master of light, Iwako Hideki, who commanded the winds, and a woman whose lightning storms could annihilate entire armies. In the middle of a chaotic battle, a man is thrown to the ground, trapped under rubble. He screams for help, but his allies can only watch, overwhelmed by the fighting. Claudia's face is tight with worry as she urges Ingolf to help the victims, but he just sighs, muttering that there are too many. The situation looks completely hopeless. Just then, a grotesque monster looms over the trapped man, its claw raised for the final brutal strike. Suddenly, a flash of pure gold cuts through the chaos, striking the monster clean across the face. The impact sends a shockwave tearing through the ground, blowing the creature to pieces. A lone figure stands in the dust, having saved the man in the nick of time. A man with long, dark hair steps forward, a confident smirk on his face. He calmly asks if everyone is all right, telling them not to worry. He'll handle this. This is their leader, Misato Kyoichiro. With a determined glint in his eyes, he raises a fist that glows with immense golden power, ready to face down an entire army of monsters all by himself. He unleashes his power in a brilliant explosion, effortlessly tearing through the monster horde as if they were made of paper. Two onlookers watch in absolute awe. One of them can't believe what he's seeing, whispering about how incredible Misato is, taking on that army alone. The woman in red explains his secret. Misato wields time magic. It allows him to see the future. He already knows every move the monsters will make before they even think it. With an ability like that, he's not even human anymore. Wreathed in golden energy, Misato dispatches a massive beast with ease, proving he's on a completely different level. After the first wave is cleared, the remaining monsters gather in front of the gate, guarding whatever lies within. The rest of the Golden Seekers regroup behind their leader. It's time to finish the job. Misato faces the dungeon's final boss, a massive serpent-like dragon. With a calm expression, he notes that this is the last one. A single, decisive strike is all it takes. The boss is defeated. Misato stands with his team, a small smile on his face, believing he has once again protected the peace. Now, all that's left is to seal the gate for good. He raises his hand, preparing the final spell. But just as he's about to cast it, something feels terribly wrong. An unexpected force slams into him. He's thrown backward, skidding across the ground, completely blindsided. He looks up to see a massive red magic circle forming in the air. But it's not sealing the gate. It's sealing him inside the dungeon. And on the other side of it are his teammates. Confusion and shock flash across his face. He stares at the shimmering red barrier, trying to understand what is happening. His mind races. This is a future he never saw coming. His clairvoyance, the power that made him invincible, has completely failed him. He looks at his teammates, his voice filled with disbelief, and asks if they were all a part of this. He can't understand why. Nathaniel Cavell, the man in the suit, looks down at him from beyond the barrier, a twisted grin on his face. He mockingly asks, "Why, you ask? It's because you're so hopelessly clueless that you ended up like this." The word hangs in the air, betrayed. Misato's eyes widen as the horrifying reality sinks in. The lightning user chimes in, calling him a monster with an absurdly powerful attribute. All they wanted was to make money safely, without him in the way. Ingolf and Iwako add their own excuses, complaining that Misato's constant need to save people always dragged them into danger they never asked for. Nathaniel tells him that today is the last day they'll ever have to deal with his heroics. With a cold, casual wave, he says goodbye, leaving Misato trapped as the rest of the Golden Seekers stand behind him, their faces empty of any emotion. Misato slams his fists against the magical barrier, his face contorted in rage and desperation. He screams for them to let him out, but it's useless. His mind is reeling. They betrayed him for such petty, selfish reasons. He thinks back on his life. As the leader of the Golden Seekers, he fought with everything he had to protect the world. He put his life on the line over and over again to protect everyone, including them. So why? Why would they do this to him? A dark fury builds inside him, his teeth clenched in rage. He can't accept this. He won't. Just then, a low growl snaps him back to reality. The monsters he hadn't finished off are starting to regroup. Trapped and alone, he has no choice but to fight, dodging the fangs of a massive beast and striking back with his own attack. But his eyes widen in alarm. It's not just a few. An endless swarm of monsters is closing in on him from all sides. There's nowhere to run. He frantically uses his future vision, desperately searching for any path, any small chance of escape. He has to get out of here. His future, but every possibility he sees, every timeline, ends the same way, with his own death. The images flash before his eyes like shattered glass. A grim, bitter smile spreads across his face. He finally understands. A future where he survives simply doesn't exist. The monsters lunge, a tide of claws and teeth ready to overwhelm him. He fights back with every last ounce of his strength, a lone golden warrior against an unstoppable wave of darkness. But it's too much. His body is covered in wounds, his clothes torn to shreds. He collapses to his knees, exhausted and broken. He couldn't change the future. Blood trickles down his face, but his eyes are still burning with a cold, hard fire. It seems there's no other choice. The monsters close in for the final kill, their grotesque faces filling his vision. He has to accept his death here. He is swallowed by the horde, their claws and teeth tearing into him from every direction. However, even as he's being torn apart, a surge of pure defiance courses through him. A single thought roars in his mind: I will not die like this. He summons the last of his strength, grabbing a monster by its face. A new resolve forms in his final moments. He will be reborn. He will become stronger. His face is a mask of pure rage as he makes a vow. He will reach the absolute peak of his strength, and he will get his revenge on every last one of them. This rage, this despair, he clenches his fist, channeling every ounce of his will into this one single promise. He will carry this feeling with him until the day comes when he can avenge his regrets and make them all pay. A final, blinding flash of golden energy erupts from his body. A silent scream of agony and defiance echoes as his existence is snuffed out. His very essence dissolves into particles of light, drifting away into nothingness. And then consciousness returns. A single eye snaps open. He finds himself sitting on the edge of a bed, wearing strange clothes in an unfamiliar room. He looks up and sees his reflection in a mirror. It's not his face. It's the face of a much younger man, someone he's never seen before. A slow, satisfied smirk spreads across the young man's face. The reincarnation worked. He scans the room full of medical equipment. A hospital then, but he wonders, how many years has it been? A dreadful thought crosses his mind. What if it's been 100 years? If that were the case, the traitors who left him to die would already be gone. He wouldn't be able to get his revenge. The thought fills him with a cold dread. He gets up and spots something on a nearby table. It's a student ID card. The name on it is Asai Kyosuke, and the date, only 20 years have passed. A wave of relief washes over him. His revenge is still possible. But then his eyes lock onto another detail on the card, and they widen in shock. Below the name, it lists his power. Not time, not light, not anything he recognizes. It simply says, Attribute Void. Level 1. A small, quiet chuckle escapes his lips. The chuckle turns into a full-blown, unhinged laugh. He can't believe his incredible luck. In his past life, his time attribute made him the strongest, so feared that his own comrades turned on him. But as he grew stronger, he realized he had hit a wall, a limit to his power that he could never break through. And even his all-seeing clairvoyance was never able to perceive the true depth of the void. It was a power beyond his comprehension. He looks down at his new hands, feeling a strange sense of pity for the boy who once owned this body, Asai Kyosuke. In his mind, there was no doubt that void was the strongest attribute, but since it was so rare, no one knew it even existed, and because nobody knew how to train it, this boy, Asai, was still stuck at level 1. He imagines the kid was probably mocked his whole life, told he had no attribute at all. He clutches the ID card tightly. "Rest assured, boy," he thinks to himself, "I will make your name known throughout the entire world as the strongest adventurer to ever live." Because thanks to his old clairvoyant skill, he knows exactly how to train the void attribute. With this power, he will become the absolute strongest. He clenches his fist, his new eyes glowing with a dark, terrifying energy, and he will make those traitors regret the day they ever decided to betray him. To get revenge on the comrades who betrayed him, he knows the first step is to reclaim his power. Lying in the hospital bed, his mind is already working, analyzing the new attribute he's been given, the void attribute. As its name suggests, it's a form of magic that controls nihility, the very concept of nothingness itself, a power that is both formless and limitless. He quickly grasps its true essence, a single, incredible ability, the power to freely project one's imagination into reality. A faint blue aura surrounds his body as he focuses, testing the limits of this new skill. He thinks to himself that just imagining things is something anyone can do. It's like an artist trying to sketch a statue. The image is perfect in their head, but recreating it on paper is another story. The real challenge is turning that mental image into something real. But he sees a perfect opportunity. This new body of his is badly injured. His torso is wrapped in thick bandages, covering serious wounds. This will be the perfect test. If he can just apply the image of a perfectly healed body onto his actual one, his eyes narrow in concentration. The real training begins now. He focuses his mind, visualizing every single cell being restored by magic, knitting themselves back together. He pictures it down to the microscopic level, a single cell glowing with restorative energy as it repairs itself. On his arm, a nasty bruise begins to glow with a warm, golden light. The light intensifies for a moment and then fades, leaving behind completely unblemished skin. The bruise is gone. He opens his eyes, a slight smirk on his face as he flexes his hand. Nice, it worked. He notes that since this is his first time, the casting is still rough. The recovery isn't fast, and his internal injuries aren't fully healed yet. But he knows that by using it over and over, his level will increase. It's just like grinding in a game. He can repeatedly use this healing magic on himself to gain experience and power up. And as he levels up, his ability to turn imagination into reality will improve. He imagines all the elements, fire, water, wind, lightning swirling at his command. Leveling up will expand the very scope of what he can create. And through that process, he'll be able to create and use countless different kinds of magic, no longer limited to a single attribute like in his past life. Eventually, any image in his mind can be perfectly brought into the real world. The potential is truly limitless. A small, confident laugh escapes him. This is the ultimate power. Suddenly, the door to his room bursts open. A doctor rushes in, pointing a shaky finger. "You're finally awake." As he tries to sit up, the doctor hurries over, telling him not to move, explaining that he was seriously injured after being attacked by a monster. Asai lays back down, his expression calm. "I see. So that's what happened to this body's original owner." The doctor continues, still in disbelief, saying it's a miracle he's woken up at all, as if the saintess herself had blessed him. That name catches his attention. He looks at the doctor, confused, and asks what he means by saintess. The doctor looks back, completely stunned. You don't know?" He practically bursts with excitement, asking how anyone couldn't know the saintess of the pentagram saints. Asai just stares blankly, replying that he doesn't know who the pentagram saints are either. The doctor collects himself, assuming it's just confusion from being unconscious for so long. He tells Asai to wait there while he prepares for an examination, then quickly leaves the room. Asai sits up, pondering the names. Saintess? Pentagram saints? He figures they must be a new group of adventurers that rose to fame in the last 20 years. Leveling up is his top priority, but first, he picks up the TV remote. He needs to understand what the world is like now. He turns on the TV to a news program, just as the anchor announces a special edition. The topic is the Triple S-class dungeon disaster from 20 years ago. His eyes widen slightly. Perfect! A report on the very incident where he was betrayed. The anchor continues, her voice serious. The culprit was, his focus sharpens. The leader of the Golden Seekers, a level 100 time attribute user, Misato Kyoichiro. An image of his old self flashes on the screen, twisted to look like a villain. Asai recoils, his mouth falling open in pure shock. What? He can't process it? He was the culprit? What in the world are they talking about? The report lays out their fabricated story, that he predicted the disaster but told no one, all as part of a scheme to take over the world, and that the other members of the Golden Seekers bravely stood up to stop his evil plan. Those very members are now hailed as the world's greatest heroes, the Pentagram Saints. The screen shows his former teammates, celebrated and revered. The anchor calls it a legendary feat that everyone in the world knows by heart. The report concludes by stating that even now, the Pentagram Saints continue to lead the world as its protectors. Asai clicks the TV off, plunging the room into silence. He stands there, his face shadowed, trying to process the absolute insanity of what he just heard. A single bitter laugh escapes him. Ha! Aha! It builds into a full, unhinged laugh, filled not with humor, but with pure, undiluted rage. He collapses back onto the bed, his voice trembling with fury. Not only did they betray him, they destroyed his name. They sacrificed him to save themselves, and then shamelessly took all the glory. They became world-famous heroes, celebrated by everyone, all of it built on a mountain of lies. His hand clenches the remote so tightly it creaks. He seethes, I won't forgive them. There's no way I can ever forgive them. His teeth grind together, a snarl of absolute hatred twisting his lips. His eyes glow with a dangerous light, his face a mask of terrifying fury. All of them, I will send every last one of them to their doom. He stares up at the ceiling, forcing himself to take a breath. Rage alone won't help him now. He gets up, his mind shifting from pure fury to cold, hard calculation. He has to be careful. His former teammates are now the most powerful and influential people in the world. He can't afford to be detected. Not yet. He needs information. He spots the phone on the nightstand. He picks it up, a plan already forming. The academy this boy attends is... A wicked grin spreads across his face as he finds what he's looking for. Just as he thought. The academy's website loads, and the headmaster is none other than Iwako Hideki, one of the Pentagram Saints. He can't believe his luck. He's barely woken up, and he already knows the location of one of his targets. However, he knows Iwako. He's a cautious man, not one to let his guard down easily. He glances over at the student ID card on the bed. The difference in levels is just too great. Asai Kyosuke is level 1. Taking on a world-class hero right now is impossible. He flops back onto the bed in frustration. At level 1, he can't do a thing. For now, his path is clear. He'll focus on leveling up, and he'll wait for an opening to take Iwako down. He clenches his fist, his eyes burning with determination. Just you wait, you're the first target, Iwako. A few weeks pass. Asai is dressed and stretching in front of the mirror. He feels good. He can finally move without any issues. The doctor stands nearby, staring at his chart with wide, unbelieving eyes, stammering that a full recovery in just a few weeks is impossible. The doctor wonders if it's truly a blessing from the Saintess. But Asai cuts him off, saying, that's not it. With a cold, steady gaze, he thinks to himself, everything is thanks to my own power. He turns to leave, thanking the doctor for his care. The flustered doctor just tells him to be safe. Asai steps out into the bright city. The basic preparations are complete. He pulls out his student ID. By constantly healing himself over the past few weeks, he's managed to raise his level to 27. It should be enough for now. A dangerous, predatory smile crosses his face. He's ready. Let's go warm up, shall we? It's time to visit a dungeon. Before he left the hospital, the doctor had told him some grim news. The original Asai Kyosuke's family had died in an accident, leaving him utterly alone. Walking through the city, he admits he feels a little sorry for the boy who used to own this body. But in a cold, practical way, it's a good thing. With no family or connections, he's free to do whatever he wants, with no one to question him. He walks with a new purpose, his footsteps steady on the pavement. Looking up at his destination, he thinks to himself, so this is the place. He pulls up his hood and fastens a mask over his face. To level up, he needs a place to test his new abilities, and this is it. He walks up to the registration desk and places his student ID on the counter to get clearance to enter. But the guard grabs his arm, stopping him. "Hey, you," he calls out, his voice sharp with concern. Asai turns, his gaze calm. "What's the problem?" The guard points at the ID, his voice filled with disbelief. "You're only level 27? You have to be at least level 30 to even form a party to enter here." The guard gets more frantic, telling him that going in alone at that level is a death wish. But Asai just calmly replies, "I'm sure that's true in most cases." However, with a swift, fluid motion, he easily twists his arm out of the guard's strong grip. He holds up his ID card. As a student of the Tokigo-e Adventurer Training Academy, he reminds the guard that as long as he signs the consent form, there shouldn't be an issue. He'd looked up the rules while he was in the hospital. The guard stammers, admitting that he's right, but he's still hesitant. From behind him, a mocking voice cuts in. "Hey now." Three shady-looking guys are leaning against a nearby tree. The one with orange hair speaks up. He tells Asai the guard is just worried about him, calling him a rookie and telling him to learn his place. Asai gives them a cold side-eye. He can already tell exactly what kind of people they are. Ignoring them completely, he turns back to the guard. "I just need to sign here, yes?" The guard tries to stop him one last time, but it's too late. Asai quickly signs his name, accepting all the risks. He puts his hands in his pockets and turns to leave. "There shouldn't be any other issues now, right?" He gives the guard a small nod of thanks for his concern and walks toward the shimmering gate without a second glance. The worried guard turns to the trio of loiterers and asks them to please follow the kid, just to keep an eye on him. He pleads with them, saying a kid that weak won't last a minute in there alone. The orange-haired guy just scoffs. But the leader, the one with purple hair and glasses, just smirks. "Why should we do that for free?" He stops, then turns to his friends. "Actually, isn't this a good thing?" He lowers his voice, a sinister look in his eyes. "If nobody's watching, then—" A wicked grin spreads across his face. "Even if something were to happen to him, it wouldn't be a problem for us. Am I wrong?" His friends catch on immediately. The orange-haired guy gets it. A brat like that, acting all tough. They'll follow him, all right. They run after Asai, the leader smiling with greedy intent. The guard, completely oblivious to their real plan, just waves thankfully. "Sorry for the bother, I'm counting on you." Inside the dungeon, the rocky path is lit by eerie torches. Asai walks calmly, the trio of adventurers following close behind. The leader smirks at his friends. "All right then, let's do what we usually do." Their plan is simple. Let the kid fight, then finish him off, take his stuff, and blame it all on the monsters. He thinks back to all the other beginners they've ambushed, their bodies left behind in the dark. It's thanks to preying on rookies like this that they've gotten so rich. They flash their stolen magic stones, their faces twisted in greedy smiles. They creep down the narrow passage, getting ready to make their move. 10 minutes later, the trio is panting, struggling to keep up. The leader grumbles that it's been a straight road, and they still haven't caught up to the kid. Suddenly, one of them stops and points ahead. "Look! They finally found him!" Asai is standing at the edge of a small cliff, looking down at a pack of monsters below. He turns his head slightly, his eyes glowing with a faint purple light from under his hood. He knew they were following him the entire time. Without warning, he leaps down into the fray, unleashing a torrent of fire from one hand and a blast of wind from the other. The two spells combine, creating a massive vortex of green and orange flames that swirls around him, incinerating the monsters instantly. The cavern is filled with a blinding flash of destructive power. When the light fades, Asai stands alone amidst the smoldering remains. The monsters are gone. The trio watches from above, their jaws on the floor. "No way!" the leader exclaims. He can't believe a level 27 kid just annihilated a D-rank monster on his own. But the orange-haired guy isn't focused on the display of power. His eyes are locked on something else. Amidst the monster corpses, a small pouch filled with gleaming blue crystals has appeared. A rare item drop, their faces light up with greed. If they sell that, they could live comfortably for the next 6 months. The leader whispers that the brat hasn't noticed the drop yet. What an idiot. That rare item is as good as theirs, once they get rid of him. The orange-haired guy jumps down, positioning himself behind Asai while the leader watches from above. He gives the signal. "Now!" The leader drops down from above, ready for a pincer attack. At his command, his two lackeys unleash their spells, a blast of water and a slice of wind, both aimed directly at Asai's back. Asai lets out a quiet sigh, his head still turned away. Honestly? He turns, his eyes glowing with an intense purple light. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? Without even looking, he raises a hand, and a barrier of swirling wind and water erupts around him, effortlessly deflecting their attacks. He thinks to himself that no matter what era it is, there's always scum trying to take what belongs to someone else. The two attackers are stunned. What? He dodged it? They can't believe it. It's like he has eyes on the back of his head. The leader, convinced it was just luck, summons a fireball and lunges forward, screaming, "Get him!" But before he can even get close, Asai is already there. A fist wreathed in blue energy slams into the leader's gut. The leader coughs up blood as the force of the blow sends him flying backward, crashing hard into the stone wall. As the dust settles, the other two can only watch in stunned silence. Asai stands calmly, not even breaking a sweat. He turns his cold gaze to the leader, now bleeding on the ground. "To vermin like you?" He looks at the remaining two, who are trembling in fear. "I'll crush you without mercy." He takes a step forward, his foot crushing a small rock into dust. "And I'll use you as a stepping stone without hesitation." His eyes glow with a chilling purple fire, a promise of what's to come. For the revenge that starts right now. Sometime later, back at the dungeon gate, an official-looking figure arrives to investigate. His polished shoes step into the now silent dungeon. This is Yoichi Sudai, one of Iwako's subordinates. He explains that he came after hearing a student from the academy had entered the dungeon alone. But as he ventures deeper, he's met with a confusing sight. The bodies of 3 adventurers, known for preying on rookies, are scattered on the ground. He looks over the scene, trying to piece together what could have possibly happened here. Later that night, in a simple apartment, the city lights glow outside the window. Asai is relaxing on his phone, reflecting on his trip to the dungeon. It was a success. He leveled up and got to test out his new void magic. He's even developed a new spell he calls Info Obscurity. He looks at his student ID, which now fakes his level, showing it as 1 instead of his true level. But that's not all. The spell is incredibly versatile. He can also use it to erase his dungeon entry records, allowing him to move completely under the radar. He looks at the doctored ID card with a grin. This is going to be very useful for staying hidden from his enemies. He stretches out on his bed, feeling prepared. Tomorrow is his first day back at the academy. Just then, he notices some notifications on his phone. He opens his messages to see a string of aggressive texts. "Hey, cough up the cash already," and "Get your head out of your rear, no attribute." He lets out a small, tired sigh. So that's how it is. It seems the original Kyosuke wasn't just seen as weak. He was being bullied and extorted, too. The next day, he arrives at the massive, modern campus of the Tokigoi Adventurer Training Academy. As he's walking, a girl's voice calls out his name, Kyosuke. He turns to see a girl with long brown hair waving at him with a bright, cheerful smile. She wishes him a good morning and asks if he's feeling better. This is Kyosuke's classmate, Asahi Karin. He gives her a small, polite smile. "Thanks, I'm fine now." She looks relieved, telling him she was really worried. A thought crosses Asai's mind. So, the original Kyosuke had people who cared for him. It's a slightly comforting thought. Their conversation is cut short by a smug voice. "Well, look at this. If it isn't the no attribute who barely escaped death." A trio of students approaches them. The leader, a guy with teal hair, looks Asai up and down with contempt, saying he expects to be paid for protecting. A weak level 1 like him. He gets right in Asai's face with a slimy grin, saying he's a little short on money and that Asai surely brought some for him. Asai's eyes narrow. He recognizes their tone from the text messages. These must be the ones who were bullying Kyosuke. Karin steps between them, trying to defend him. She tells them to stop, reminding them that Kyosuke was just discharged from the hospital. But she's clearly nervous, her hand trembling as she clutches her bag. Seeing her stand up for him, something in Asai's expression shifts. He gently places a hand on her shoulder, giving her a reassuring smile. "Thanks," he says calmly, "but I'll be fine. The bullies just laugh." The blonde one mocks him for acting tough just because a girl is watching. The leader sneers, saying he'll remind Asai that he's just a useless nobody who can't even use magic properly. Asai's expression turns cold. He looks them dead in the eye. "It's you who should be reminded of your place." The bullies just look confused. Unlike you scumbags, he continues. He remembers the promise he made to the original Asai Kyosuke. Rest assured, boy, I will make your name known throughout the whole world as that of the strongest adventurer. He looks at the bullies, his voice steady and filled with an authority they can't possibly comprehend. I'm someone who keeps my word. The bully's face contorts in rage. What nonsense are you spouting? He screams as fire magic begins to form around his fist. Karen gasps in horror, reminding them that using magic outside of dungeons is against school rules. The bully just screams at her to shut up, enraged that a talentless nobody with no attribute is trying to defy him. Take this, he yells, hurling a massive fireball directly at Asai. Asai remains completely unfazed. He simply raises a hand, and a small magic circle appears, effortlessly catching the fireball. He manipulates it for a moment, then forms another magic circle and sends an even larger blast of fire right back at them. The two fireballs collide mid-air. Asai's attack completely overpowers the bullies, exploding with tremendous force and sending all three of them flying. The other two bullies are in utter shock. No way. Wasn't that the same magic? One of them shouts. They can't understand how he's suddenly so powerful. The leader stumbles to his feet, staring at Asai in disbelief. What? Asai looks back at him, his expression utterly unimpressed, his voice dripping with disappointment. Is that it? The bully grits his teeth, humiliation and rage twisting his face. You brat, he panics and screams at his friends. Hey, don't just stand there. Hurry up and get him! Spurred into action, the other two launch their own attacks, a stream of water and a blade of wind. But Asai is already moving, effortlessly weaving between their attacks in a blur of motion, turning their own elements back against them. They can't believe their eyes. What the heck? Just how many magic attributes can he use? They've never heard of anything like this. Asai appears directly in front of the leader, his face inches away, his voice a low growl. Are you satisfied? Before the bully can even react, Asai says, then it's my turn. He's suddenly surrounded by a massive aura of fire. He tells them not to worry. He won't end their lives, at least. The bullies scream in terror, scrambling to get away, but it's too late. Asai's mind flashes back to the helpless boy whose life he now lives. Kyosuke asked you for help, didn't he? He grabs the leader by the face, his grip like iron. And what did you do then? His eyes glow with a demonic red light. Well, I don't need to hear your answer. He squeezes, the bully's face contorting in pain. Vermin like you always say the same things anyway. He lifts the bully effortlessly as flames lick at his feet. His own eye reflects a cold, clear determination. And that's why, no matter what you say, I won't stop this fist from swinging down. And inferno erupts from his punch. He delivers a devastating, fiery uppercut. The blow connects with sickening force, sending the bully reeling. He's launched into the air, spinning from the impact. He lands hard on the pavement, knocked out cold, smoke rising from his body. Karen covers her mouth in shock, whispering his name. Asai looks down at the defeated bullies. He speaks to the spirit of the boy he now is. Asai Kyosuke, from here on, nobody will ever look down on you again. His eyes glow with purple energy, a fierce promise shining within them. Let's walk the path to becoming the strongest adventurer together. After a lifetime of being pushed around, Asai Kyosuke finally fought back. But putting one bully in his place has just put a much bigger target on his back. Outside the academy, the bullies who had tormented him are now bowing, their voices shaking as they apologize. They scramble away, practically tripping over each other to escape. They aren't just sorry, they're terrified. The timid kid they used to shake down for money is gone. The lead bully glances back, sweat dripping down his face. He can't wrap his head around it. The kid completely changed after getting out of the hospital. Asai just scoffs, completely unfazed. To him, they were a minor annoyance. Karen, however, looks on with a mix of awe and concern, seeing a side of her friend she never knew existed. As Asai and Karen walk down the school hallway, a heavy silence follows. Every eye is locked on Asai. Whispers and stares trail behind him like a shadow. The attention is suffocating. For a man trying to move in the shadows and plot his revenge, this is the last thing he needs. A thought crosses his mind, tinged with annoyance. Did I stand out too much? His plan requires him to be invisible, but his first day back has already made him the center of attention. Just as he's lost in thought, a voice cuts through the tension. Just a moment. A student in a formal uniform steps in front of him, blocking his path. The student looks down at him, his expression serious. "You're Asai Kyosuke, right?" he asks, his tone leaving no room for argument. He asks if Asai has some time to talk. Asai looks up, his eyes narrowing slightly. Internally, he's already analyzing the situation. "Who's this?" He immediately sizes him up, an upperclassman with an air of authority. This isn't just a random student, this is trouble. What a pain, he thinks. Asai is about to brush him off when Karen steps in. "I'm sorry, class is about to start, so—" But the upperclassman isn't listening. He ignores her completely, his focus locked on Asai. "Come to think of it," he says, "I haven't told you my name." He stands tall, a look of pride on his face. "I am Yoichi Tsudai, the leader of Biting the Cat." Karen looks confused. Biting the Cat? The name sounds strange, but for Asai, it sets off alarm bells, because he knows exactly what it means. A cold realization hits him. The clan that Headmaster Iwako made? The name of his first target hangs in the air. This is no coincidence. Tsudai leans in, his polite demeanor gone, replaced by a demanding tone. "I'll ask you again, Asai." A smug, condescending smile spreads across his face. "You can spare me some of your time, yes? It's not a question, it's an order." Asai's face is cast in shadow. He knows he can't refuse without causing an even bigger scene. He puts on a slight smile, his voice calm. If that's the case, it seems it can't be helped. He's playing along, but his mind is already 10 steps ahead. In a private room, Tsudai gets straight to the point. "Are you the one who defeated the adventurers found in the D-rank dungeon last night?" Asai keeps his composure, feigning confusion. "What are you talking about?" he asks, a small, confident smile on his lips. But inside, his thoughts are racing. That information should have been concealed. How did he find out? This is the first unexpected wrinkle in his plans. Tsudai explains that he was told a student entered the dungeon, so he went to investigate. He describes the scene he found inside, the bodies of infamous criminals known for hunting novice adventurers. Then he connects the dots. "And on top of that, you were using multi-attribute magic this morning, no?" The evidence is stacking up, and Asai feels a flicker of genuine surprise. This guy is more thorough than he expected. But then, a wave of relief washes over him as a sly smile creeps onto his face. He realizes something crucial. Tsudai thinks he's a multi-attribute user, not that he possesses the legendary void magic. This means he doesn't know the specifics. Tsudai's patience is wearing thin. He leans forward, his voice rising in anger. "Now, spit it out! Are you the one who defeated them?" Asai calmly turns away, playing the part of a frightened, confused student. "Since I was suddenly attacked this morning, I don't really remember what happened." He pulls out his student ID, a disarming smile on his face. "I'm really just a level 1, so there's no way I could do something like that." He's using the Academy's own system against him. Tsudai snatches the ID card, scanning it quickly, looking for any sign of a lie. He stops cold. The card reads, "Asai Kyosuke, Attribute, Void Live, 1. His mind freezes. His student ID does say level 1, and the Void attribute? It's an attribute that shouldn't even exist. Asai watches him, a pleasant, almost mocking smile on his face. He knows he's just thrown a wrench in Tsudai's investigation. He's thinking, "This? Nobody dares to waste my time?" Tsudai grits his teeth in frustration. He has no proof, just a legendary attribute and a level 1 student acting suspiciously. He feels like he's been made a fool of. He shoves the card back at Asai, forcing a strained apology. "Sorry for calling you over." He turns to leave, tossing a warning over his shoulder. "Don't act suspiciously in the future. It's a pain having to do extra work." Asai watches him walk away down the empty hall, his innocent facade melting away. His expression turns cold and calculating. "That guy, Tsudai," he thinks, his eyes filled with a predatory gleam. A wicked grin spreads across his face. "Looks like I can use him." He realizes that Tsudai, being Iwako's direct subordinate, is the perfect tool to get close to the headmaster without raising suspicion. Is there some way I can make him my pawn? A new idea starts to form in his mind, a flash of purple energy signaling the birth of a new plan. Asai's grin widens. Isn't this the perfect time to test out that magic? The game is just getting started. Meanwhile, in the headmaster's office, Tsudai stands before Iwako, concluding his report on the dungeon incident. Iwako leans back in his chair, his face a mask of disappointment. It's not like you to mess up, he says, his voice dangerously low. He glares at Sudai, his words dripping with contempt. I told you to be careful about choosing who you use. This confirms it. Iwako was directly involved with the player killers. Sudai bows deeply, his body trembling. I sincerely apologize. I will try to calm the situation right away. Iwako stands up, his presence looming over the terrified student. Naturally, he says coldly. He leans over his desk, his voice a harsh whisper. If it becomes known that you were involved in hunting novices, my reputation will be on the line. Suddenly, Iwako's hand shoots out, grabbing Sudai by the throat. Sudai's eyes widen in sheer terror. Iwako's face contorts into a horrifying snarl. Don't forget, he hisses, if something goes wrong, even you can be discarded in a heartbeat. Sudai stammers, barely able to breathe. I understand, Headmaster Iwako. He's just been reminded of his place. A disposable pawn. After being dismissed, Sudai walks away, his face twisted in rage and humiliation. Good grief. Why do I have to deal with this? He seethes. He's completely consumed by his anger. If he'd known things would get this messy, he would have squeezed a lot more hush money out of those hunters before they got themselves taken out. His regret isn't about the crime, but about not profiting more from it. Back in the office, Iwako is still pondering the report. Something isn't adding up. With that being said, there's one thing I still don't quite get. Sudai, still in the room, looks up nervously. What is it, sir? Iwako holds up a tablet. According to your report, the student in question is at least a third year. He taps the screen, showing the results of a search. But there isn't a single third-year student who entered a dungeon last night. He tosses the tablet onto his desk with a dismissive thud. So, he says, his voice laced with suspicion. He turns to Sudai, his eyes sharp and accusing. They must have been defeated by a monster, and you're lying to cover it up. Iwako turns to the window, his back to Sudai. He states that a monster killing them is a more realistic conclusion than one of his students defeating experienced hunters. His arrogance blinds him to the truth. Sudai is stunned into silence, sweat beading on his forehead. Is that so? He murmurs, his mind racing. Indeed, Iwako replies, his tone final. He's made up his mind. But just as he's about to dismiss the matter, he adds, unless something extremely unusual happened. At that, Sudai's eyes widen. The word unusual echoes in his head, and the image of Asai's student ID flashes in his memory. Attribute, void live. 1. Seizing the opportunity, Sudai speaks up. Headmaster Iwako, could it be possible for a unique attribute to be involved? Iwako turns, a flicker of interest in his eyes. A unique attribute, you say? That's certainly a possibility. A sly, triumphant grin begins to form on Sudai's face. He sees his chance to turn this failure into a victory. He places a hand over his heart in a gesture of loyalty. Headmaster Iwako, please leave this matter to me. He promises to swiftly, resolve this issue. His eyes glow with a sinister, greedy light. He plans to investigate Asai Kyosuke for his own ambition, having no idea he's walking straight into a trap set by a master strategist. Inside the Academy's training dungeon, the air crackles with energy. Spells of fire, ice, and wind erupt in a brilliant, chaotic display as students battle summoned monsters. Suddenly, a hulking beast smashes through their defensive line, sending one student flying. Panic spreads as another monster lunges forward with a vicious roar. One student conjures a blast of golden energy, but it barely slows the creature's rampage. The students scramble back in fear, their formation completely broken by the sheer force of the attack. But one voice cuts through the panic. It's Yoichi Sudai, calm and in control, ordering the students to hold their formation. The other students watch in awe. One whispers that Yoichi is amazing, personally chosen by Headmaster Iwako. Another considers joining his clan. To them, he's a perfect leader. A moment later, the dust settles. Sudai stands unscathed amidst a pile of defeated monsters. All right, he announces. I've dealt with all the monsters in this area. His clan members salute him. Good work, Yoichi, they shout, but his expression remains cold, his mind already elsewhere. He turns his back on them, delegating the cleanup. I'll leave the rest to you. This training exercise was just a cover. Now then, he thinks, his polite facade dropping the moment he's alone. A grim look of determination settles on his face. Time to do what I came here for. He pulls out a small, coffin-shaped pendant. It's a magical artifact, pulsing with a faint energy. He channels his mana into it, and the pendant glows with a brilliant blue light. Chains, he commands, reveal Asai Kyosuke's location. A chain of pure blue energy shoots out, pointing down a long, empty corridor. Sudai smirks. Just as he thought, Asai is completely isolated. He begins walking, his footsteps echoing in the quiet hall. This works perfectly for him. A chilling plan forms in his mind. If it's like this, a sinister grin spreads across his face. He'll make Asai's death look like an accident. Deaths in dungeons are common, so no one would ever suspect a thing. But first, he needs more information about the trouble that has followed Asai since he left the hospital. He watches the group of bullies who used to torment Asai, standing outside a window. He thinks to himself, I'm really curious about what those guys were saying. A short while later, Sudai sits before the bullies, interrogating them. They're all gathered around him, their faces pale with fear. Sudai leans forward, his eyes narrowed in disbelief. Is that true? The bullies desperately try to convince him. It's true. Please believe me, the leader cries out. That no attribute attacked us with the exact same magic we used. The blonde bully chimes in, his voice shaking. He says that Asai didn't just copy his magic. He created a flame bigger and more powerful than anything he'd ever seen. Sudai listens, his expression unreadable. Internally, he dismisses their story as impossible. He stands up, turning his back on them. Well then, I've asked what I needed to ask. The pink-haired bully looks up, a hopeful, nervous smile on his face. Then, a single, cold word cuts him off. Hey. Sudai glances over his shoulder, his eyes filled with contempt, and gives an order to his clan members. Re-educate them. He has no use for weaklings who lose to incompetence. The bully's face drains of all color. No! That's not what you promised! He screams as they're dragged away. But Sudai just walks on, not even looking back. His thoughts return to Asai. That guy. He recalls the look on Asai's face from their earlier confrontation. It wasn't the face of a normal student. He realizes Asai isn't just strong. There's something fundamentally different about him now. Back in the dungeon corridor, the magical chain continues to guide him. The fear he saw in the bully's eyes wasn't normal. He remembers sending Asai to a special class, but all the boy did was show off powerful illusions. He concludes that Asai must have used a magic item or some other trick. With a smug smirk, he convinces himself that Asai must have dealt with those novice hunters through some underhanded method. He's rationalizing everything to fit his own narrative. As he walks, he comes across the corpse of a goblin. He stops, the blue chain still glowing in his hand. Another monster corpse? Was this Asai Kyosuke? He examines the body. It was killed by a single, powerful fire attack. A flicker of doubt crosses his mind. Looks like what those guys said wasn't complete nonsense. He stands up, a confident smile returning to his face. But this power is no big deal. In his mind, even Iwako, a dropout from the original hero team, could do this much. His arrogance knows no bounds. He thinks back to Iwako's threat. For now, he has to obey him. But one day, he vows, he will surpass him. And then, he'll take his place among the pentagram saints and rule the world. This is his true ambition. A low, wicked laugh escapes his lips. He steels himself. To achieve his goal, he can't let anyone find out about his connection to the dead hunters. And as for Asai Kyosuke, who's likely to cause more trouble, he'll just have to ensure a little unfortunate accident happens to him. The tracking chain glows brighter, pulsing rapidly. He's close. He must be just around the corner. Sudai carefully peeks around the corner. All right, he whispers. What could he be doing in a place like this? His words catch in his throat. His eyes widen in absolute shock. Asai is sitting there, casually, as if he's been expecting him. A heavy, purple aura surrounds him. A voice, dripping with boredom and power, cuts through the silence. You're awfully late, Asai says, his eyes glowing. I'm tired of waiting. What? Sudai stumbles back, his mind reeling. My presence should have been completely concealed. Asai looks at him with a knowing smirk. So, how did he notice my presence? Is that what you're thinking, Yoichi? Sudai freezes, gritting his teeth in disbelief. Did he read my thoughts? He stares at the boy sitting before him, a terrifying realization dawning on him. Just what in the world are you? Asai's voice is laced with disappointment. I heard Iwako chose you, but you're not as impressive as I thought you'd be. He leans forward, his gaze piercing through Sudai. Well, the way you hunt down novices and extort money is just like that coward Iwako. Sudai is stunned into silence, his face a mask of rage and confusion. What? How do you know that? Asai rises to his feet, a shadowy beast appearing behind him. Yoichi, he says, his voice dangerously calm, it seems you really enjoy tormenting others. He takes a step forward, the pressure in the room becoming immense. But you've never understood how it feels to be the one getting hunted, have you? Asai cracks his knuckles, a dark, predatory grin spreading across his face. I'll be teaching you that feeling now. His eyes glow with an intense purple light, and with that magic, I'll make you dance for me. The hunter has just become the prey. For an arrogant hunter like Yoichi Sudai, there's nothing more terrifying than realizing you've walked straight into the predator's den. He stares at Asai, his bravado gone, replaced by pure fear. You're a dangerous one, he thinks. Too dangerous. But his ambition is stronger than his fear. A brilliant golden light erupts from his hand as he summons a magic sword. He tells himself that for the sake of his ambition, he will defeat Asai right here, at all costs. With a desperate roar, he lunges forward, his blade cracking the very floor beneath them. Asai doesn't even flinch. As the golden blade comes screaming towards him, he casually raises a hand to meet it. A small flicker of orange flame appears in his palm, effortlessly stopping the powerful attack. Cold. He looks at Sudai with a bored, condescending expression. Is that it? Is this your true strength? Asai easily pushes the sword back, his voice dripping with disappointment. You think you can defeat me with that level of skill? Before Sudai can recover, Asai counters, unleashing a barrage of sharp ice-like projectiles. Sudai frantically deflects them, but then a wave of earth spikes erupts from the ground beneath him. He's completely on the defensive, shocked by the display of different magic types. Asai doesn't give him a moment to breathe, launching another attack that sends Sudai flying backward. Sudai lands hard, his mind reeling in disbelief. No way. He can really use multi-attribute magic. He glares up at Asai, who has now created a sword of his own from pure blue energy, and demands to know what the deal is with his void magic. Rage and frustration boil over. You brat, he screams. All you do is get in the way of my plans. He charges forward again, his movements wild and desperate. Asai just watches him come, his expression cold and analytical. Your plans? He asks calmly. Sudai roars back. That's right! One day, I'll become someone who surpasses Iwako. A crazed, greedy look fills his eyes. And then I'll take his place and become a pentagram saint. Asai probes deeper, genuinely curious about his pathetic logic, asking why he's so focused on Iwako. Sudai answers with a twisted grin. Because Iwako is a dropout from the original hero team, the weakest link. Targeting the weakest one is just common sense. Asai listens, his head slightly bowed. He looks up, his face filled with utter disgust. Ugh, despicable. He asks Sudai to repeat himself, almost unable to believe the sheer vileness of his ambition. Asai lets out a small sigh, raising his own magic sword. I was worried you might have gotten to Iwako first, he says quietly, his eyes narrow with contempt. But with such a pathetic ambition, there was no need for me to worry at all. The insult snaps something in Sudai. Shut your mouth, he screams, launching into a furious rant about wanting power, money, and women, his attacks becoming more frantic. He screams that he wants the kind of power that lets him trample on others without anyone being able to say a thing. That's the power I want, he roars, his golden sword clashing violently against Asai's blue one. A truly sinister grin spreads across Sudai's face as he reveals the depths of his depravity. Once he becomes a saint, he can do whatever he wants, and once he's in that position, he'll find the saintess's weakness. An image of him forcing himself on Claudia flashes in his mind as he declares, "And then I will make that woman mine." Asai's face becomes an icy mask of disgust. It seems your words aren't even worth listening to. It's about time I end this. In a single, fluid motion, Asai's blade flashes forward. With a deafening crack, Sudai's golden sword shatters into a dozen pieces. He stares in horror, screaming, "No way! My sword!" Asai stands over him, the blue sword vanishing into particles of light. Thanks to your useless rambling, he says, his voice devoid of emotion, I finished preparing that magic. Pure terror finally breaks Sudai. Don't, he whimpers, scrambling backward. Don't come near me. Asai's eyes glow with an eerie purple light. Now then, he says, his voice a low command. Let's see you dance for me. He reaches out, and a wave of kaleidoscopic hypnotic energy washes over Sudai. The name of the spell echoes in the air. Absolute hypnosis. Sudai's eyes go wide as the vibrant colors of the spell overwhelm his consciousness. His body goes limp, and he collapses to the floor, completely unconscious. Asai looks down at the fallen student. This magic requires some effort to break the target's spirit first, but once it's activated, it's absolute. He speaks two simple words. Hey, get up. On the floor, Sudai's fingers twitch. His body rises stiffly, moving like a puppet on strings. He stands before Asai, his eyes completely vacant, and responds in a monotone voice. Oh, yes, sir. I have stood up. A cold, satisfied smile touches Asai's lips. Looks like it was a success. He gives his new pawn his first orders. Focus on completing the mission for now. I'll give you instructions later. Sudai struggles to respond, his voice still robotic. Yes, understood. Asai corrects him, telling him to go back to his regular tone. The control is perfect. A flicker of awareness returns to Sudai's eyes, but his will is no longer his own. He turns, his posture returning to normal. I will get back to leading the group, he says, his voice sounding exactly as it did before. Asai watches him walk away, a perfect, undetectable puppet. The first piece in his grand game of revenge has just been set. He walks down the corridor, his job here done. Just then, Karin runs up to him, a worried look on her face. Kyosuke, where were you? I was worried. Asai instantly transforms. The cold mastermind disappears, replaced by a warm, friendly classmate. He puts on a sheepish smile. Ah, sorry. I was just talking to Yoichi about something. Karin is surprised. Huh, with Yoichi? What were you two talking about? He looks at her, his expression completely earnest. Just a bit about how to make your dreams come true. Karin, completely unsuspecting, asks if he got any good advice. Asai's smile widens, but there's a chilling undertone that only he understands. Yeah, he says, I got some great advice. An image of the broken, hypnotized Sudai flashes in his mind. Thanks to that, one of my dreams will surely come true. Karin beams, taking his words at face value. I hope your dream will come true soon, Kyosuke, Asai replies. Yeah, I hope so too. An announcement rings out that the special class is ending and all students should gather immediately. Let's go, Kyosuke, Karin says, grabbing his arm. We can't get left behind. As he's led away, Asai looks back down the empty hall. I'm really glad I participated in this class, he thinks to himself. A dark, triumphant smile plays on his lips. Because I've finally gotten my hands on a pawn Iwako would never suspect. A trap has been set, the bait has been taken, and the first of the traitors is about to face the ghost he thought he'd buried 20 years ago. In the headmaster's office, Iwako gets a report from his puppet. Sudai confirms that a student with a unique attribute was involved in the Hunter incident. He presents Iwako with a photo of his target. That student is Asai Kyosuke, he explains, a first year with the Void attribute. Sudai continues his fabricated report, claiming he's been interrogating Asai, who confessed to using multi-attribute magic. Every word is a lie, perfectly crafted by Asai. Iwako's interest is piqued. Multi-attribute magic? What do you mean? The idea of a student wielding such a rare ability is both intriguing and suspicious. A faint, almost imperceptible smile plays on Sudai's lips. He's got him. He tells Iwako that the specifics are still unknown, but with more time, he believes he can find out everything, masterfully dangling the bait. Iwako leans back, considering it. Then, Sudai makes his move. Speaking of which, Sudai says with a loyal smile, since it's been a while, how about you take charge, headmaster? He offers up the interrogation as a gift, a chance for Iwako to indulge his cruel side. Iwako scoffs, but the idea clearly appeals to him. That wouldn't be bad. A sadistic glint enters his eyes. It's been a while since I've tortured someone. He promises to take out his frustrations on the student. Sudai stands, ready to lead the way. Then, let us. But Iwako clicks his tongue, waving him off. I'll head there later, he says, dismissing him. Sudai bows and leaves, his mission complete. Iwako is on the hook. As soon as Sudai is gone, the phone on Iwako's desk rings. He picks it up, his voice gruff. "Iwako, speaking." A smooth, feminine voice answers, dripping with false sweetness. "My, if it isn't the great headmaster. Thank you so much for choosing us during yesterday's bid." Iwako's patience evaporates. "Drop the act, Leiruoji." We see the woman on the other end of the line, stylish and confident, a smirk on her lips. "Not taking the bait, huh?" She teases him about them being partners. This is Lei Ruoshi, CEO of the Lei Company and, more importantly, another of the traders. Iwako is in no mood for games. "You're still the same as ever," he grumbles, trying to end the call. "Sorry, but I'm busy. Let's talk another day." Lei Ruoshi laughs mockingly. "Oh, what business could the great headmaster, who filled his own pockets, possibly have?" Iwako seethes. "Watch your mouth." But he cuts himself off, deciding it's not worth it. He gets straight to the point. "I'm investigating a student with the void attribute." Lei Ruoxi sounds unimpressed. The void attribute? What could a failure like that even do? It's clear the world sees the legendary attribute as useless. Right, but, Iwako insists, it's still a unique attribute. He argues that because it's unique, anything could happen. That gets her attention. She asks. "You mean something like Kyoichiro's time magic?" A flashback shows Misato in his past life, effortlessly slaughtering monsters. The name hits a nerve. Iwako's face twitches with anger. He snarls into the phone, "Don't talk about that guy. It sickens me." Lei Ruoshi just chuckles, remarking that he's as short-tempered as ever. Her tone becomes more serious. "But I can't blame you," she says, recalling how Misato's overwhelming power left them all in his shadow. A sly smile returns to her lips. She has a feeling she knows why Iwako is so interested. "Well, in that case, I'll contact you again later," she says, ending the call on her own terms. Iwako slams the phone down. He jumps to his feet, enraged. That selfish fox. But the name Kyoichiro echoes in his mind, stirring up old resentments. He decides it's the perfect time to take out all that pent-up anger. A short while later, Iwako walks through a dark, wooded area toward a secluded building. He stands before a reinforced metal door, a cruel smile spreading across his face. Now, he thinks, how should I torture him? His mind fills with sadistic glee as he imagines all the possibilities. His face twists into a monstrous grin. "I'll let out all the anger I couldn't on Kyoichiro, on you instead." He places his hand on the door's lock, and with a soft, golden glow, it clicks open. He throws the doors open dramatically. "Sorry to keep you waiting, Suda." He stops. The room is empty. A single wooden chair sits in the center of the dimly lit chamber, but there's no one there. "What?" He's confused. There's nobody. Suddenly, a figure attacks from the shadows. A sword flashes, aimed right at Iwako's head. Iwako reacts instantly, blocking the strike with his arm. Sparks fly. "It seems you've underestimated me." He growls, his face contorting with rage. He glares at his attacker. "It must be from all that arrogance you got from being praised, huh, Sudai? Did you seriously think you could defeat me with just that?" Golden chains erupt from his body, glowing with immense power. The chains whip through the air, wrapping around the attacker, binding him completely. Iwako slams the chained figure into the ground with incredible force. "There's no way someone like you could be a match for me." He stands over the defeated form, seething. "You made the wrong choice, you fool. You ruined yourself with your foolish desires. Yoichi Tsudai," he declares, preparing to finish him off. A calm, mocking voice echoes through the room. "I see you're still an idiot." Iwako freezes. That voice? It's not Sudai. He whips around, his eyes wide with shock. "Who's there?" the voice continues, its tone dripping with contempt. "Groveling before the strong and exploiting the weak." Asai steps out from the darkness, a figure of calm authority. "It seems you're still as greedy and foolish as ever." Iwako explodes with rage. "How dare you? I'm the headmaster of this academy." Asai's eyes narrow, repeating Iwako's own words back to him. "Ruined yourself with foolish desires?" That sounds like a perfect self-introduction for you, Iwako Hideki. "You brat, who are you?" Iwako screams, his authority crumbling. "I'll expel you. Give me your student number." A slow, predatory grin spreads across Asai's face. Now, hold your horses." He looks his old comrade in the eye, the man who left him to die. 20 years of hatred have all led to this moment. I finally made it to this point, he says, his voice a low, dangerous promise. So let's take our time and talk a little, just the two of us. 20 years of hatred have all led to this moment. Asai looks at the man who betrayed him, a cold, predatory smile on his face. Why don't we have a little chat, Iwako Hideki? Iwako is seething, his pride shattered. A golden aura flares to life around his hand. You dare make a fool of me. The ground trembles under his feet as he gathers his power. I will show you the difference in our strength, he roars, his face twisted with rage. He unleashes his magic. Take this, advanced earth magic. A colossal hand made of rock erupts from the ground, soaring towards Asai. Iwako is supremely confident. There's no way a student like you can avoid this. Vanish! He screams, thrusting his fist forward to command the attack. The massive stone fist hurtles towards Asai, ready to crush him into dust. The impact is immense, and the ground explodes in a shower of rock and debris. Iwako throws his head back and laughs, a wild, manic sound. This is what happens when a mere student tries to defy me. A thick cloud of dust billows out from the point of impact, obscuring everything. Iwako smirks, already thinking ahead. Did I go a bit too far? I'll have to find a new place to torture people. He turns his back, believing the fight is over. Well, I still don't know who you are, but I guess I'll stick around to watch you fade away. He starts to walk off, wiping dust from his coat. What a pain you've been. But then he stops. Something isn't right. As the dust begins to settle, a silhouette appears, standing completely unharmed in the center of the crater. Iwako stares, his eyes widening in disbelief. What? Asai takes a casual step forward, brushing off his suit. My, didn't I just ask for a little chat? Iwako's jaw drops. What? You're unscathed even after taking my advanced magic? There's never been a student like that before. His confusion turns to rage. Who in the world are you? Tell me your name. Asai brings a hand to his chin, feigning thought. Who I am, huh? His eyes flash with a sinister purple light, a cruel smile on his lips. Don't you already know me? What? Iwako stammers. I don't know any brat like you. Stop messing around and tell me your name. Asai's smile becomes a sad, mocking pout. I'm deeply hurt, Iwako. An image of Misato Kyoichiro in his past life flashes in the background. Did you really forget about me? It clicks. A horrifying realization dawns on Iwako's face. The way he talks, the look in his eyes. No, yes, you are. He stumbles backward, his mind refusing to accept it. No! He clutches his head, his face a mask of pure terror. That guy is definitely. His pupils shrink to pinpricks. Asai looks on, his expression now cold as ice. You monster! Iwako snaps, his fear turning into desperate denial. Enough with this pathetic act. You saw the news about the history, didn't you? He grits his teeth, forcing the name out. That man, Misato Kyoichiro, he gathers his magic, a swirling green energy forming around his hand. Is already gone, he screams, unleashing a powerful torrent of wind magic. Asai just stands there, letting out a heavy sigh. You've always been like this, only believing what's convenient for you and ignoring the rest. Iwako's face contorts in a furious snarl. Stop spouting that nonsense. Come any closer and I'll blast you away. A knowing smile returns to Asai's face. I see how it is. He raises his hand, a small whirlwind of white energy forming in his palm. You were swayed by the sweet words of those around you. His eyes burn with 20 years of suppressed rage. And that's why you betrayed me, Misato Kyoichiro. Iwako loses it completely. Shut your mouth. He unleashes his wind attack, a massive, swirling vortex of green energy that tears across the landscape. But Asai meets it head-on. He raises his own hand, and a barrier of golden wind forms in front of him, effortlessly blocking the attack. He walks forward, straight through Iwako's spell, completely unfazed. He creates a swirling vortex of wind around himself, the magic identical to Iwako's, but stronger, purer. Iwako stares, his face pale with shock. This magic? An image flashes in his mind of Misato in his past life, wielding the exact same wind magic. Is the same as what Kyoichiro used back then? Asai casually waves his hand, and the wind vortex dissipates, revealing he's dodged another attack without even trying. There's no way. Iwako thinks, his mind completely broken, his knees buckle, and he falls to the ground. His voice is a terrified whisper. I'm sure we sealed him in the dungeon. a voice answers him, cold and hard. I was trapped. He leans down, his face inches from Iwako's, a single glowing eye visible behind his hair, thrown into the depths of despair. The terrified headmaster finally asks the question he's been dreading. Are you really Misato Kyoichiro? Asai pulls his foot back. Took you long enough. He looks down at the pathetic, broken man who was once his comrade. A warm, genuine smile spreads across his face, a smile far more terrifying than any expression of rage. It's been a while, he says. I'm glad you remember me, Iwako, Go. For 20 long years, he was just a ghost, a bitter memory. Now, that ghost is standing right in front of him. Kneeling in the dirt, the headmaster's composure shatters, his mind struggling to accept the impossible. Are you Misato Kyoichiro? A jolt of pure terror forces Iwako back to his feet. He stumbles backward, his body rigid with a fear he hasn't felt in decades. This can't be real. It's a nightmare. Denial finally boils over into rage. Don't you dare take me for a fool, he screams, trying to convince himself more than anyone. For Misato to be here, it would mean he somehow cheated death, a thought too terrifying to accept. Shoving his fear down, Iwako summons a swirl of crackling green energy into his palm. His face twists into a snarl, clinging to the power he spent a lifetime building. He glares at the boy, his eyes wild with a mix of fury and panic. Ghosts should stay quiet, he yells, a desperate attempt to command reality itself. He unleashes a volley of wind blades, sharp currents of air that slice through the trees, aimed to erase the impossible sight before him. But Asai doesn't even raise a hand. With a simple, almost lazy sidestep, he avoids the entire barrage as if he were just stepping over a puddle. The wind magic tears through the empty air where he just stood, leaving him completely untouched. Asai glances back, his expression calm, almost bored. His opponent's desperate attack wasn't even worth a proper defense. Insolent brat, he seethes, clicking his tongue. He's being played with like a child. A dark resolve settles in his eyes. He has to end this, now. He can't let this ghost from his past break him. He remembers the old days, how the other heroes mocked him for being a non-combatant. That old sting of being the weakest, the most useless member of the team, still fuels him. However, clenching his fist, magical energy surges around him. A fierce green aura flares to life, powered by 2 decades of resentment and the desperate need to prove he's no longer weak. He roars, his voice filled with newfound conviction. That doesn't mean that I'm weak. Raising his hand to the sky, he pours every ounce of his being into one final spell. This is the secret technique I spent 20 years creating. The very ground trembles and cracks as he combines his 2 affinities. Earth and wind merge into a vortex of destruction, pulling razor-sharp rocks into a raging green tornado. With a distorted scream, he unleashes his ultimate attack. Take this. The storm of rock and wind barrels forward, a chaotic maelstrom aimed to pulverize its target. It's a blur of green and brown, a testament to the power Iwako has honed for 20 years. The cyclone finally collides with the ground, kicking up a massive cloud of dust and debris that blankets the entire clearing. Iwako stands panting, sweat pouring down his face. He put everything into that. How do you like that? He gasps. This is my strongest magic. He stares into the thick dust cloud, his ears ringing. The air is still, silent except for his own ragged breathing. But something's wrong. There was no counterattack, no barrier, no defensive spell, nothing. Asai just took it. A slow, twisted grin spreads across Iwako's face. A low, dry chuckle escapes his lips. His grin widens into a triumphant roar as he throws his arms out. I did it! I actually did it! He's won! He truly believes he just obliterated the greatest hero who ever lived. He laughs like a madman, his face a mask of pure ecstasy. I beat that monster Misato Kyoichiro. All his fear vanishes, replaced by an overwhelming, intoxicating pride. Did you think I was the same after all these years? You idiot, he gloats, feeling on top of the world. No matter how strong your time attribute is, that's all in the past. He clenches his fist, his rings glinting in the light. How many years do you think it's been? 20 years. 20 whole years! A flash of memory cuts through his mind, his younger self, battered and bruised, clutching a broken sword. A bitter reminder of the weakness he fought so hard to escape. Back in the present, he throws his head back and lets out a wild, unrestrained cackle of victory. You shouldn't have underestimated me. He strikes a confident pose, pointing an accusing finger at the settling dust. Of course I got stronger over 20 years. My level has risen. He lets out a long, satisfied sigh as the adrenaline finally begins to fade. A calm determination washes over him. He believes he's finally taken down Kyoichiro. He thinks to himself, I won't let the others act so high and mighty anymore. His face contorts with ambition, his ego swelling to colossal size. The true strongest amongst the pentagram saints is me. And then a calm, chilling voice cuts through the silence from within the dust cloud. Are you done? Iwako's eyes snap wide. The triumphant grin vanishes, replaced by a look of absolute heart-stopping terror. His entire body freezes solid. You! As the dust finally clears, Asai is revealed, standing there without a single scratch on him. His clothes aren't even dirty. Iwako collapses to his knees, his mind completely breaking. How? After taking all of that? Asai looks down at him with a condescending smirk. You've gotten pretty good with your magic, huh? He says, his tone dripping with mockery. As expected of a hero of this era. A dark, ominous purple aura begins to swirl around Asai's body. The mocking tone is gone, replaced by something far more sinister. Now then, a truly chilling smile spreads across his face as sparkles of multicolored light dance around his hand. I can let out my anger without having to hold back. Iwako stares up, his face pale and drenched in cold sweat. This guy, he's a monster. But his survival instinct kicks in. Pushing himself up, he thinks, but I can't back out now. Not after I worked so hard to get here. It's a last, desperate defiance against overwhelming despair. He screams, a final cry of defiance. I won't let you mess with me again. He lunges forward, his hand glowing with golden energy, betting everything on one last desperate physical strike. His hand closes in on Asai, the air crackling with power. For a split second, it almost looks like he might actually land the hit. A glint of hope appears in his eye. He thinks he's got him. I got him! Asai just looks at him, his expression completely flat. My, you're still barking as loudly as ever. Without even looking, Asai casually summons a massive torrent of water that erupts from the ground with incredible force, slamming into Iwako and completely engulfing him. Asai stands calmly amidst the churning water. You think that's enough to defeat me? Iwako's face is a mess of terror and pain, his teeth clenched as he struggles against the overwhelming power. Don't! He pleads. Don't come near me, he shrieks, trying to summon another weak gust of wind to push Asai back. He's completely lost it now, just screaming in pure animalistic fear. Stay away! Asai has had enough. He raises his hand, and a new spell forms, a swirling vortex of green and blue light, crackling with immense power. He unleashes another massive whirlwind, far more powerful and controlled than Iwako's could ever be. It's a furious cyclone that rips through the clearing. The tornado scoops Iwako up, trapping him inside its violent currents. He's tossed around like a rag doll, completely at the mercy of Asai's magic. Iwako grunts in pain as the wind blades slice into him from every direction. He cries out as he's slammed against the ground. The spell finally dissipates, leaving him broken and utterly defeated. Asai walks over to the crumpled form of the headmaster. A small flame flickers to life around his foot as he approaches. Ah! Iwako whispers, barely conscious. With the last of his strength, Iwako forces himself into a bowing position, his forehead pressed to the dirt. I am sorry, Kyoichiro, he cries, his voice cracking. I beg of you, please forgive me. Asai just stands over him, watching him grovel. I am sorry for what happened 20 years ago. Iwako continues to plead, his body trembling. Asai remains silent, his face unreadable. Iwako looks up with desperate, pleading eyes. So please. He's betting on the past. He always thought of Kyoichiro as a foolishly nice guy. He thinks if he just begs enough, the hero he once knew will surely spare him. But the person standing before him is not a hero. A single, cold command cuts through his desperate pleas. Shut up! Iwako looks up, confused. Huh. Asai looks down at him, his voice laced with venom. This is exactly how you trapped me back then. Asai's eyes glow with a menacing red light from behind his hair. Do you think I would let that happen again? Panic floods Iwako's system. He scrambles backward, his voice cracking with desperation. Hold on, Kyoichiro. We used to be friends, right? Asai's response is swift and brutal. You have no right to speak those words." His hand ignites with furious orange flames. "Not after turning me into a demon of revenge." He unleashes a relentless barrage of spells. Fire and ice erupt in a chaotic storm, slamming into Iwako over and over. This isn't a fight anymore, it's a punishment. In his fading consciousness, a single, agonizing thought takes shape. I never... The image of Asai with glowing eyes, the very picture of a demon, is burned into his mind. Should have messed. Asai charges up one final, devastating blast of energy. With this guy. The attack hits with the force of an explosion, a blinding flash of light that sends Iwako flying. With a heavy thud, Iwako's unconscious body slams against a tree, finally slumping to the ground, completely broken. Asai stands over the defeated headmaster, his own clothes slightly singed. He speaks to the unconscious man, his voice cold and flat. "You should be thanking me for not ending you." A flicker of light appears on Iwako's chest. "I still have things to ask you, but..." Asai looks down at the motionless body. You can't hear me, can you?" The first act of his revenge is complete, but this is only the beginning. Beaten, broken, and stripped of all pride, Iwako's nightmare is far from over. A low groan escapes his lips as consciousness slowly returns, every inch of his body screaming in protest. A calm voice cuts through the haze of pain. "Hey, you're finally awake!" Iwako's eyes struggle to focus, landing on the figure of Asai standing over him. The sight alone sends a fresh wave of terror through his battered body. He scrambles backward in a desperate panic, kicking up dirt as he tries to put distance between them. "Ah!" he screams, his voice raw with fear. He throws his hands up, pleading, "Please don't kill me." A small, almost amused smile touches Asai's lips. My, he says, his voice deceptively gentle. "I won't kill you." Asai takes a step closer, and Iwako flinches away, bracing for another blow. "But," Asai continues, "you'll answer my questions, won't you? It's not a request, it's a command." Straightening up, Asai's tone becomes all business. "All right then. First," he pulls out a smartphone, displaying the contact list. One name is highlighted, Lei Ruochi. "Tell me about this woman." A bead of sweat rolls down Iwako's temple. He recognizes the phone instantly. "That's mine," he stammers, the realization dawning on him. Asai had taken his phone while he was out cold. He'd been completely outplayed from the very start. Asai zooms in on the contact. "According to your call history, this Lei's person contacted you today." His gaze turns sharp, his voice dropping to a low, threatening growl. "Just what were you two talking about?" Iwako struggles to form a coherent sentence. "That's, Lei is coming to Japan in 3 days, so I thought she'd want to talk about that, but..." A slow, calculating smile spreads across Asai's face. The pieces of his plan are starting to fall into place. "I see," he thinks to himself. "In 3 days, Lei will be here." An image of his former teammate flashes in his mind, another traitor to add to the list. A confident look settles on his face. "I've decided what to do next." He casually tosses the phone back to Iwako. "I'll give this back to you. For now, treat Lei normally." He raises a finger to his lips, his expression turning deadly serious. "However, don't tell her anything about me." "While you were unconscious," Asai explains, his voice chillingly calm, "I placed a certain spell on your heart. So if you were to tell her who I am..." Asai clenches his fist, and a ball of fire erupts in his hand, a clear demonstration of the power he holds over Iwako's life. A massive burst of flame flares around him, the intense heat washing over Iwako. It's a silent promise of what will happen if he disobeys. Iwako's face is a mask of pure horror. The message is crystal clear. One wrong word and his heart will explode. The fire fades, and Asai gives Iwako a final, chilling smile. "Be sure to keep your promise, yeah?" With that, Asai turns and calmly walks away, leaving Iwako hunched over, trembling in the dirt, a broken man. As he walks, Asai allows himself a small, cold smile. Of course, he didn't actually use that kind of magic. There's no spell on Iwako's heart, but for a coward like Iwako, the bluff was more than enough. The psychological terror alone would keep him perfectly in line. Asai had no intention of using hypnosis on him, not like he did with Sudai. That would be too merciful. No, he wants Iwako to suffer. He wants him to feel every single moment of his coming despair, fully aware and with his own mind intact. A sinister look crosses Asai's face. The revenge he has planned is not a quick end, but a slow, agonizing descent into hopelessness. 3 days later, inside the first-class cabin of an airplane, a flight attendant pushes a drink cart down the aisle. Sitting by the window is Lei Ruoji. She looks out at the clouds, the picture of cool, sophisticated boredom. Her assistant leans over. "Miss Lei, we're almost there." The flight attendant's voice comes over the intercom, announcing their imminent arrival. Suddenly, a piercing scream rips through the calm of the cabin. 2 masked men storm into the cabin, brandishing weapons. One grabs the flight attendant, holding her hostage as he yells, "We're hijacking this plane now." They wave their weapons, forcing the terrified passengers to the floor. "Everyone on the floor now." Lei's assistant immediately moves to shield her, ready for a fight. One of the hijackers starts to shout, "If you don't listen to our commands!" He never finishes the sentence. In a blur of motion, Lei steps forward, her high heel clicking sharply against the floor. Before the man can react, she grabs his arm. A brilliant turquoise energy crackles to life around her. The hijacker's eyes go wide. That's a powerful surge of lightning rips through his body, and he collapses, completely neutralized. His partner stares in shock. He has no time to react as Lei appears before him in an instant. With another swift, powerful strike, she unleashes a second bolt of lightning, taking him down just as easily. A passenger looks on, completely stunned. "Whoa, that's—" Someone shouts her name in awe. "Lei Ruoshi of the Pentagram Saints." As the attackers fall to the floor, relief washes over the cabin. "We're saved!" Soon after, the plane lands safely. The hijackers are escorted away by the authorities. Lei stands on the tarmac with her assistant, looking completely unfazed by the ordeal. An airline executive rushes over, bowing deeply. "Miss Lei, I cannot thank you enough for this." Lei gives him a charming smile. "I'm just glad I was on board. Thanks to that, we avoided any damage to the airline's reputation." She plays the part of the humble hero perfectly. Her assistant holds up one of the hijackers' weapons. "But more importantly," he says, "it seems this is a special model that wasn't picked up by the detectors." Lei's expression turns serious as she explains that criminal groups have recently been armed with gear made from dungeon materials. "That's why," she says, placing a hand on the executive's shoulder, "I have to give my staff some equipment for self-defense." Her voice drops, becoming smooth and persuasive. "Like the gear you carry. This wasn't just heroics, it was a business pitch." The executive, completely won over, bows again. "Of course, I'll make sure of it." As they walk through the airport terminal, Lei pulls out her phone. She makes a call. "It's me," she says coolly. "Release the hijackers." Her assistant smirks. "It went well, huh?" Lei smiles back, looking at her phone. "Yes, it was quite entertaining." The entire hijacking was a setup. She planted them on the plane herself. It was all a calculated performance to manipulate the airline into a lucrative contract. As they exit the airport, a frenzy of reporters and fans greets them. Lei glances at the crowd and remarks, "Look at that. It was pretty good for publicity, too." The crowd goes wild, chanting her name, Miss Lei, as expected of the hero Lei Ruoshi. She gives them a graceful wave, soaking in the adoration, a master of public perception, a hero to a world that knows nothing of the darkness she hides. Later, 2 luxury cars pull up to the Tokigoi Adventurer Training Academy. Lei steps out, her public smile vanishing, replaced by a look of cold business. "Now," she says to her assistant, "time to take care of the real reason I came to Japan." The scene shifts to the door of the principal's office. Inside, Iwako stands by the window, his face covered in bandages, anxiously waiting. The door slides open. Lei enters with her assistant, a sly smile on her face. "Pardon the intrusion, Iwako." They sit, and Lei gets straight to the point. "You said you were looking into a student with the void attribute. Any progress on that?" Iwako forces a dismissive smile, trying to act normal despite the terror gripping him. "No, that was just a false alarm. Just as you said, he was nothing but a worthless failure." Lei sips her tea, seemingly satisfied. "Is that so? I suppose even a unique attribute is nothing special in the end." Iwako sweats, his heart pounding. He knows that one wrong word, one hint of the truth, could mean the end for him. He has to play his part perfectly. Lei sets down her cup. "Then, let's get to what I actually wanted to discuss." A sinister, predatory glint appears in her eyes. "Regarding the new substance we're developing, shall we choose our next test subject?" She leans back, crossing her legs. "You've made pretty good use of this academy's system, haven't you?" she remarks, making it clear this isn't the first time they've used students for their twisted experiments. Unseen, on a nearby rooftop, Asai listens to every word through a small earpiece. He looks out over the academy, his face a mask of pure disgust. How despicable! A cold fire burns in his eyes. His next target is clear. The next one to experience despair will be you, Lei Ruoxi. A new day begins at the academy, but for Asai, the gears of revenge are already in motion. The morning news flashes across his screen, announcing the arrival of Lei Ruoji, one of the celebrated pentagram saints. He listens with a cold, stoic expression as the report praises Lei for her heroic takedown of hijackers on her flight. He knows the truth behind that carefully staged performance. He sees her on screen, waving to adoring fans, the perfect hero in the public eye. But all he sees is another face from 20 years ago, another traitor. He recalls what he knows about her. She runs a company that produces unique weapons from dungeon materials, a business that has made her obscenely wealthy. But after what he overheard between her and Iwako, he knows she's using this school for her own dark purposes. The image of her cruel, manipulative smile flashes in his mind. Asai stands, slipping on his school jacket, his mind already piecing together a strategy. He thinks to himself, on the surface she's a hero, but behind the scenes she preys on the innocent. A sharp, cold grin spreads across his face. This is exactly the kind of hypocrisy he lives to shatter. I can't just let this go on. His decision is made. Lei Ruoxi's time as a false hero is coming to an end. He heads out, his steps purposeful as he walks towards the academy grounds. He moves through the school hallways, blending in with the crowd, his mind already plotting its next move. He pulls out his phone, scrolling through an article about Lei's heroic feat. But how should I approach this? He wonders. Security is already tight, but with a world-famous hero on campus, getting close to her will be nearly impossible. He needs an opening. He's deep in thought when a cheerful voice calls out his name. Kyosuke. He turns to see a girl with long brown hair and a bright, friendly smile. "It's you, Asahi," he says, as she greets him with a warm, "Good morning." She peers at his phone. "Ah, you were reading the article about Lei, huh?" Asai just nods. "Yeah, just skimming." Asahi's eyes light up with admiration. "Lei is amazing, isn't she? She fought off all those hijackers yesterday. She's completely bought into the image Lei so carefully crafted. And the Great Snake of Changshan is also very popular," she adds. The name catches Asai's attention. "Changshan? That's the clan Lei created," Asahi explains excitedly. "They have a bunch of powerful members." "I see," Asai says, his mind connecting the dots. He thinks back to the guards in black suits who were with Lei. Were they from that clan? As they walk, Asahi continues, "A lot of students here want to join the military. What about you, Kyosuke?" Asai starts to laugh it off, about to say no. But then an idea strikes him. His eyes widen slightly as the perfect plan begins to form in his mind. "No, wait," he thinks to himself, "if I can use that clan, I might be able to get close to her." This is the opening he's been looking for. "All right," he begins, turning to his classmate. He gives Asahi a genuine, warm smile. "Thanks, Asahi. Because of you, I figured out what I have to do." He quickly turns and walks away, leaving a slightly confused Asahi watching him go. "You're welcome?" She stammers, completely bewildered. She has no idea she just handed the world's most dangerous man the key to his next act of revenge. Meanwhile, in the principal's office, Iwako is on edge. His phone suddenly rings, startling him so badly he nearly jumps out of his chair. He nervously picks up the receiver, his voice trembling. "It's me." On the other end, standing on the school rooftop, is Asai. "Hey, Iwako, I need a favor." Iwako's face pales. "What is it?" he asks, already dreading the answer. "If Lei contacts you," Asai begins, laying out his instructions with cold precision. The scene shifts to a sterile, high-tech laboratory where scientists in scrubs move about their work. In the center of the room, two staff members carry an unconscious man who groans in pain, struggling to breathe. They drop him to the floor, where he collapses onto his knees, clearly in agony. Lei Ruoxi steps into view, her assistant behind her. She looks down at the test subject with a cold, amused smile. "How are you feeling?" The man, bound and helpless, looks at her with pure terror. "Please, please stop giving me that substance," he begs. "If this goes on, I am going to..." His face is a mask of desperation and fear. Lei's response is a swift, brutal kick to his head that sends him sprawling across the floor. She looks down at him with utter contempt. "No way. I don't listen to the opinions of my test subjects." She crouches down, a deceptively sweet smile on her face. "There's no need to be so pessimistic. If you're compatible with this new formula," she purrs, "you will become even stronger." A twisted promise that offers him no comfort. She stands and gestures to her scientists. "So let's get on with it." The man sees them approach with another massive syringe filled with glowing red liquid. "Please, wait," he screams. But it's too late." The needle plunges into his arm. A choked gurgle escapes his lips, his eyes wide with shock and pain. A horrifying scream rips from his throat as his body convulses violently. After a moment, he goes limp, foam spilling from his mouth. He's gone. Lei looks at the failed experiment with clinical detachment. "Loss of language ability this time," she muses. "It seems that without some magical aptitude, it just won't work." She turns away from the body without a second thought. "We still need more data. We will need more subjects soon," her assistant states. Lei nods. "That's right." She pulls out her phone, a sly look on her face. "As usual, we'll frame it as a recruitment for the Great Snake of Changshan. It's the perfect cover to lure in her victims." She dials a number. "Yeah, Iwako?" "About the subjects we discussed before. She's calling to arrange for more students to be sent to her lab. I need those who are skilled in magic. Can you pick out some students from your academy?" On the other end, Iwako listens, completely trapped. But this is the moment Asai prepared him for. Following his new master's orders, Iwako replies, "In that case, how about we do this?" He suggests holding a selection exam at the academy. That way, he explains, we can find the most skilled individuals, right? He's feeding her the exact idea Asai gave him. Lei is pleasantly surprised. "Wow," she says, a genuine smile on her face. "So you do come up with good ideas sometimes." She has no idea she's walking right into a trap. The elevator dings as it reaches the ground floor. She hangs up, looking pleased. The date, time, and specifics will follow. Back in his office, Iwako slams the phone down, his hand trembling. He slumps in his chair, utterly defeated. He knows he just betrayed an old comrade, but he had no choice. "I did just as you asked," he whispers into the empty room, Kyoichiro. The next day, the entire student body is gathered in the auditorium. Lei's assistant stands at the podium. "The Great Snake of Changshan," he announces, "has decided to hold a selection exam here to find new recruits." The students erupt in a wave of excitement. "Seriously?" one shouts. Another yells, "This is our chance to get into that popular clan." Asai stands in the crowd, a small, knowing smirk on his face. He watches the excited students, his plan unfolding perfectly. A dark, triumphant thought crosses his mind. With this, the path to Lee is open. The stage is set. The day of the selection exam has arrived. Hundreds of hopeful students crowd the academy's massive athletic field, each one dreaming of a spot in the prestigious clan. The air is thick with anticipation and nervous energy. Lei Ruoshi's assistant, Yang Xinyu, steps forward. "Thank you for coming to the selection exam for the Great Snake of Changshan," he announces, his voice calm and professional. "I will now explain the procedure." Standing in the crowd, Asai is completely focused. To get close to Lei, he first has to pass this exam. He thinks back to his fight with Iwako. Back then, his goal was to stay hidden, to avoid attention at all costs. But this time, it's the exact opposite. To get noticed by Yang Xinyu and the other examiners, he has to put his power on full display. A determined look settles on his face. No more hiding. Just then, a familiar voice calls his name. "Kyosuke." It's Asahi, running up to him with a smile. "You're taking the exam too?" Asai nods. "Yeah, you too, right?" He feels a slight pang of guilt. He never wanted to drag her into his dangerous world, but it seems their paths were meant to cross here. Asahi looks a little nervous. "I know I don't really belong here," she admits shyly. "But I have my reasons for wanting to join." Asai can see a quiet determination behind her words. She pumps her fist with a burst of enthusiasm. "Let's both do our best so we can make it through together." Asai simply replies, "Yeah." But in his mind, his resolve hardens. For his plan to succeed, failure is not an option. I have to make it through, no matter what. The exam begins. An examiner announces the first test, a measurement of raw magical power. He gestures to a golden orb on a stand. This device will visualize the magical power of anyone who touches it. We will measure your power here, so please step forward one by one. The first student steps up, yells, and pours his energy into the orb. It glows with a faint yellow light. An examiner jots down the result, looking completely unimpressed. Next, Asai Kyosuke. It's his turn. Asai politely hands over his student ID. I'll be in your care. The examiner just nods, barely giving him a glance. A close-up of his ID shows his name, his attribute listed as Void, and his level as 33, far higher than before, but still hiding his true strength. The examiner scoffs internally. Level 30s and a Void attribute? I'm not expecting much. The Void is widely seen as useless. Asai calmly places his hand on the golden orb. The instant he makes contact, a cataclysmic explosion of energy erupts from the device. It's not just a glow. It's a cosmic nebula of overwhelming power, a galaxy of stars that completely dwarfs every other attempt. The examiner shields his eyes, his clipboard flying from his hands in shock. The other students are thrown back by the sheer force of the display. Asahi covers her face, yelling, "What is that? This is insane!" Asai calmly removes his hand as the light fades, leaving the examiner staggering to regain his composure. He turns to the dazed man. "Was that okay?" The examiner can only stammer, "Huh? Oh, yes." Still shaken, the examiner picks up his clipboard. He crosses out all the pre-written ranks and, with a trembling hand, writes a single letter next to Asai Kyosuke's name, S, the highest possible score. The next part of the exam is announced, the Magic Skills Test. Asai steps up again, conjuring a simple ball of earth that floats in his palm. The examiner watches, unimpressed. Is that all he can do? Having a lot of power isn't enough? He's cut off by the sight of a sly, knowing grin on Asai's face. Then, a ball of swirling water appears in Asai's other hand. The examiner's eyes go wide. 2 attributes at once, but Asai is just getting started. A vortex of fire ignites above his head. And then, lightning and wind manifest around him, swirling in perfect harmony with the earth, water, and fire. He's controlling all the basic elements simultaneously. The examiners in the stands are completely floored. One shouts in disbelief, all the basic attributes at the same time. It's a feat that should be impossible. Asai stands there, surrounded by his elemental display, a look of smug satisfaction on his face. He thinks, how do you like that? A powerless void attribute doing something like this. Asahi cheers from the sidelines, completely amazed. That's incredible, Kyosuke. Asai gives her a confident smile and a thumbs up. Thanks. You do your best too, Asahi. Now, it's Asahi's turn. She steps up to a planter box filled with wilted, dead flowers. She takes a deep breath, and a brilliant, warm, golden light emanates from her hands. The light pours into the soil, enveloping the dead plants. In a beautiful display of life magic, the flowers are instantly restored, blooming into vibrant, healthy blossoms. She finishes, leaving behind a beautiful arrangement of flowers where there was only decay moments before. Some of the other students scoff. Reviving dead flowers? That's nothing special. But Asai knows better. Is that light attribute magic? He thinks. That's a pretty rare attribute. He also realizes that her passive, non-combat ability will be hard for the examiners to evaluate. A small, selfish part of him hopes she doesn't get chosen, keeping her safe from this mess. Asahi walks away looking a little disappointed with her performance, but her rare ability didn't go unnoticed. An examiner passes a note to Yang Xinyu. It reads, Asahi Karin, worth trying as a test subject. Yang Xinyu announces the final challenge. Finally, we will conduct one-on-one duels. He gestures to a group of intimidating fighters standing behind him. These clan members will be your opponents. The students are shocked. You want us to fight them? But Yang reassures them. Don't worry, we won't evaluate you just on winning or losing. What matters is how you fight. He thinks to himself with a smug look. Not that any student could win against one of us in the first place. A massive, muscular clan member with blonde hair steps forward and points directly at Asai. Are you the student who caused a stir earlier? He cracks his knuckles, a cocky grin on his face. You showed off in the other tests, but I'll show you that none of that matters in real combat. Asai just smiles politely. Yes, I hope to learn a lot from you. The man's grin turns predatory. I'll finish this in one hit. He charges forward, his fist glowing with powerful earth magic. He unleashes a barrage of hardened earth projectiles, sending them flying straight at Asai. Asai doesn't move to dodge. Instead, he calmly summons a swirling vortex of wind magic around himself. The wind barrier effortlessly deflects every single projectile, shattering them to dust before they even get close. The blonde fighter stares in disbelief. What? He destroyed my magic in one hit? He looks up from his attack, scanning the field for his opponent. He's gone? Asai has vanished completely. In the next instant, Asai reappears directly behind him, his hand already glowing with chilling ice magic as he strikes the man's back. The clan member is frozen in place, completely disabled. Asai leans in and whispers, "Is creating an opening by casting magic what you call real combat? I've learned a lot." He throws the man's own words right back at him. The stunned examiner announces the result. "Winner, Asai Kyosuke!" The entire crowd of students is silent, shocked by the instantaneous victory. Asai calmly helps the defeated fighter up, a small flame in his hand to melt the ice. The victory was absolute. The students can't believe it. He won against a member of the Great Snake of Changshan? Yang Xinyu stares at Asai with a sharp, calculating gaze. Just who is this student? Later, in a high-rise office overlooking the city, Yang reports to Lei Ruoxi. "Lei, the exam is finished." "Have you found any interesting subjects?" she asks, not looking up from her papers. He replies, "About that, there is a student of interest." "A student of interest," she repeats, intrigued. "Yes," he confirms. He passed the exam with an overwhelmingly strong performance. However, he adds, he has the void attribute. This makes Lei pause. Her mind immediately flashes back to her conversation with Iwako. The void attribute, could it be the student Iwako was looking into? A slow, sinister smile spreads across her face. A low chuckle escapes her lips as a predatory light fills her eyes. "It looks like I'll get my hands on a very interesting test subject." Asai's plan worked flawlessly. He's been chosen. The results of the exam are in. In a silent auditorium, Lei Ruochi's assistant, Yang Xinyu, steps to the podium. His voice is crisp as he announces he will now read the names of those who passed. For the students waiting, their futures hang in the balance. He pauses, letting the tension build before speaking again. First, Asai Kyosuke. In the crowd, Asai doesn't even flinch. His expression is calm, almost bored. This wasn't a possibility, it was an inevitability. A bitter murmur goes through the other students. "Of course he did," one of them thinks, remembering the ridiculous power Asai showed off. There was never any doubt he'd pass. A small, cold smile touches Asai's lips. Everything is falling into place, just as he calculated. With this, he can finally get close to his real target, Lei Ruoxi. Yang Xinyu's voice rings out again. Next, Asahi Karen. Hearing her name, Karen looks up, her eyes wide with shock. She presses a hand to her chest, unable to believe it. "Yes!" she stammers, her voice trembling with excitement. Even Asai seems a little surprised, glancing over at her. He can't figure out how she was selected. He didn't expect her to pass. Just having a rare attribute shouldn't have been enough to get her through an exam this competitive. Something doesn't add up. And then, it clicks. An image of Lei Ruoxi flashes in his mind. She isn't looking for talent. She's using this exam for something else entirely. And there must be a darker reason Karen was chosen. But Karen is completely oblivious, turning to him with a brilliant, happy smile, overjoyed that she made it. Looking at her pure excitement, Asai lets out a quiet sigh, and a tiny, almost unnoticeable smile touches his own lips. A quiet resolve settles over him. Fine. Whatever they're planning, he's not going to let them lay a single finger on her. His gaze hardens. His main goal hasn't changed, but now he has a new one: achieve his revenge while also protecting her. A few days later, a sleek skyscraper pierces the sky. The Japanese branch of the Lei Company. It looks impressive and professional, hiding a dark secret within. Inside, Asai, Karen, and a few other students are gathered, welcomed as the newest members of the Great Snake of Changshan. Yang Xinyu addresses them, his demeanor perfectly professional. He explains that before they're officially onboarded, they need to conduct one last thing, a suitability check. He adds that Lei Ruoxi herself will meet them right after. Asai's eyes narrow. His target is finally within reach. Yang leads the small group through massive, sterile hallways. The scale of the building is meant to intimidate. Asai is impatient to get to Lei, but he glances at Karen. He has a bad feeling about this suitability check and can't leave her on her own. Karen, sensing his quietness, turns to him with a nervous smile. "Being in such a big building really makes you nervous, huh?" She closes her eyes, a happy expression on her face. For her, the nervousness is overshadowed by pure joy at being able to join the clan. Asai looks at her and asks a simple question. "By the way, why do you want to join the Great Snake of Changshan?" Her cheerful expression softens. She explains that her mom is in the hospital and the medical bills are high. She's doing all of this for her family. "I see," Asai says. Her motivation wasn't fame or power, but love for her mom. His resolve to protect her deepens. They arrive at a set of stairs leading down into darkness. "Here we are," young Sinyu announces. Asai knows immediately where they're headed. The basement. The doors slide open, revealing not an office or a training room, but a high-tech laboratory filled with strange equipment. Asai's suspicion is confirmed. A testing facility. This is the true purpose of the exam. "Close it," Yang orders one of his men, his voice suddenly cold and devoid of any warmth. With a heavy thud, the metal doors slam shut, sealing them inside. The other students finally realize something is wrong, looking around with worried expressions. Asai remains calm, analyzing the situation. They have no intention of letting anyone leave. One of the more hot-headed students steps forward, shouting, "Hey, what's the meaning of this?" Yang Xinyu's face transforms into a terrifying mask of fury. With a single word, "Shut it," he silences the boy, his killing intent washing over the room. The friendly act is over. He turns back to the group, his professional smile gone. He repeats that they are here for a suitability check. Then he reveals the horrifying truth, holding up a syringe filled with a red liquid. "Specifically," he says with a dark glint in his eyes, "the suitability of a new substance we're developing." He explains that this new formula, created from rare dungeon ingredients, can dramatically enhance a person's power. One student, still not grasping the horror, asks, "Then isn't that a good thing?" But another, his face pale, asks the real question. "Does this new substance have any side effects?" A cruel smirk spreads across Yang's face. "It would be faster to show you," he says, gesturing to a large monitor. The screen flickers to life, showing a previous test subject desperately pleading, "Please wait." Before he can finish, his body convulses violently. He lets out a strangled gasp, his eyes rolling back as he collapses. The students watch, frozen in horror. "What you just saw," Yang explains calmly, "was someone who was incompatible. Does that answer your question?" The room goes dead silent. The silence is broken by a furious shout. "Don't be ridiculous. Like, we'll take something like that." Two of the students erupt with power, one wreathed in flames and the other in swirling water. They're not going down without a fight. They charge forward, screaming to be let out. It's a desperate, last-ditch effort to escape. In the chaos, Asai turns to Karen, his voice low and firm. "Karen, don't leave my side." One of Yang's guards moves in a blur, intercepting the two charging students. With two swift, brutal strikes to the gut, he sends them flying. They let out cries of pain as they're lifted off their feet. They crumple to the ground, unconscious. Yang watches, completely unfazed. My, he says with a sigh. The number of samples has decreased. His cold, calculating gaze scans the remaining students. It lands directly on Karen. "Shall we start with the woman over there?" he asks, as if choosing an item off a shelf. He raises the syringe. She's the one with the light attribute. "I'm looking forward to the results." He takes a step towards Karen, who flinches back, whimpering in terror. But before he can get any closer, Asai moves in a flash, stepping directly in his path and shielding Karen. Yang stops, surprised. "What are you doing?" Asai looks back at him, his eyes filled with contempt. "Keeping lowlifes like you away from her." Yang lets out an annoyed sound. This little interruption is wasting his time. He gestures to his men with a simple command. "Hey, restrain him." One of the large guards rushes forward, throwing a powerful punch aimed straight for Asai's face. But Asai doesn't dodge. He meets the punch head-on, his own fist crackling with a terrifying surge of black and green void energy that explodes on impact. The guard's face contorts in shock and pain. He never expected this kind of power. The raw energy blasts through him and continues outward, hitting all the other guards in the room in a single, devastating wave of force. They're all sent flying, crashing to the floor unconscious before they know what hit them. Yang stares in utter disbelief, a bead of sweat running down his face. No way, all of them, in one hit? Asai stands silently amidst the fallen guards, his back to Yang. He slowly turns his head, his eyes glowing with an intense, otherworldly light. His voice is dangerously calm as he says, "You're next." Yang lets out a pained grunt, feeling the immense pressure rolling off of Asai. He knows he's in serious trouble. He grits his teeth, his mind racing. Since it's come to this, he has one last desperate option. Thinking he can use the girl as a shield, he lunges past Asai, making a grab for Karin. She screams in terror. It happens in an instant. Before his fingers can even touch her, Asai is there, his hand clamped around Yang's wrist like a steel trap. "I thought I told you," Asai says, his voice a low growl, "that I won't let you near her." Yang curses, trying to pull his arm free, but it's useless. He can't budge an inch. His face is a mask of shock and rage. "What is up with this guy? A regular student shouldn't be able to." Asai looks down at him, his eyes glowing a menacing shade of violet. "The time for games is over. Now," he says, his voice promising a world of pain, "brace yourself." Trapped and overpowered, Yang Xinyu grits his teeth in pure frustration. He's used to being the one in control, but this kid is on a whole different level. Asai stands protectively in front of Karin. "Stay behind me, Karin," he says, his voice steady. Huddled behind him, she can only manage a quiet, trembling "thank you," her eyes wide with fear and awe. She stares at his back, her mind reeling. "Kyosuke is amazing!" She couldn't even follow what just happened. The guards were taken down in an instant. She didn't see a single move he made. She knew he was strong, but she never imagined it was to this extent. This is the power of a monster. Yang glares at Asai, his pride stinging. "You punk," he snarls. "Don't get too cocky." But Asai ignores the threat. "Let me ask you one thing," he says, his tone demanding an answer. "The students of the academy," he continues, gesturing to the unconscious bodies on the floor. "They're being used as test subjects." He locks eyes with Yang, his gaze sharp and piercing. "Just why is that?" A wicked, arrogant smirk spreads across Yang's face. He scoffs at the question. "It's very simple," he says, his voice dripping with fanaticism. "Because those who follow Miss Lei can receive her blessings. Once the development of this substance is complete," he continues, a zealous light in his eyes, "she will obtain even greater strength." Asai's expression darkens with disgust. "So you believe conducting these inhumane experiments is acceptable for the sake of that?" Yang's smile doesn't waver. "We just use what's available. That's all there is to it." His words are cold, completely devoid of morality. Dialer, he leans in, his smile widening into a grotesque grin. "Besides, I think it's an honor for them to serve as our test subjects." Asai's mind flashes back to Karin's innocent face, her hope of joining the clan to help her sick mother. The contrast between her pure intentions and this man's vile corruption is sickening. A shadow falls over Asai's face as he clenches his fist. He's heard enough. Yang, completely oblivious, points towards Karin. "That woman there as well. She should be over the moon to become our." He's cut off as a wave of dark energy erupts from Asai, who roars a single command, "Shut up!" The raw pressure of Asai's aura slams into Yang, forcing him back a step. Asai looks up, his eyes glowing with violet rage. "Just who do you think you are?" he snarls. "You're nothing but trash that tramples on others. You don't even understand how she feels." Karin watches, her heart pounding. She's never seen him like this, so full of righteous fury. Yang struggles against the overwhelming pressure, sweat beading on his forehead. What is this incredible power? Is he really just a student? He manages a strained smile, trying to regain control. "I'd normally tell you to know your place," he says, "but I don't dislike that courage you've got." He extends a hand, making a ridiculous offer. "How about it? Won't you also serve under Miss Lei? If you were to hand over that woman," he says, gesturing to Karin, "she might even make you an executive. I'm sure Miss Lei would be very pleased." Asai's voice drops to a lethal whisper. "I told you to shut up. I can't forgive people like you." Yang finally realizes there's no reasoning with him. "You'll regret this," he growls, adjusting his tie. He explodes with a golden aura, the ground cracking beneath his feet. His eyes glow with power as he channels his magic. The floor shatters from the sheer force of his energy. Asai watches, unimpressed. Body-strengthening magic, huh? Yang boasts that, when combined with his martial arts, it's an unbeatable skill. His eyes burning with golden light, Yang challenges him. "Come at me!" With a roar, he unleashes a punch that sends a shockwave through the air. He closes the distance in an instant, his fist aimed to obliterate Asai. "Take this!" But Asai sidesteps the blow with impossible ease, the ground shattering where he just stood. The force of the missed punch rips through the lab, knocking Karen off her feet. She covers her mouth in shock, completely terrified by the devastating power on display. Yang lands, surprised. "Looks like you managed to dodge that." From the other side of the crater, Asai calmly analyzes the attack. "So this is body-strengthening magic. It sure is powerful." In that case, Yang roars again, preparing another attack. "Don't you run from the next hit!" But Asai isn't running. He's perfectly still, his eyes closed, concentrating, taking the magic he just witnessed and turning it into an image in his mind. Yang rushes in, seeing Asai standing motionless. "Have you given up?" he screams, throwing another punch. The golden fist flies toward Asai's face. Just before impact, Asai's eyes snap open, glowing with an intense violet light. Void magic. Activate. He raises his arm to block, and his entire body erupts in the exact same golden aura of body-strengthening magic. He stops the punch cold with one hand. Yang's face contorts in disbelief. "Impossible! The same power as me?" Then he feels it. "No, it's even stronger." A confident smirk plays on Asai's lips. "Looks like I can use body-strengthening magic now. Thanks for that." "It's all thanks to you," Asai says, his voice mocking, "that I was able to imagine it." And then he moves. He drives his fist forward with blinding speed. The punch connects with Yang's stomach, and the man's eyes go wide with shock and pain. The impact sends him flying like a cannonball, smashing through the lab and crashing into the far wall. As he lies in a heap, his mind can't process what just happened. No way. Asai stands over him, victorious. Yang's last conscious thought is a single terrifying question. Just who is he? The golden aura fades, and Asai turns to Karen, his demeanor instantly softening. "Karen, are you all right?" She can only stammer another "thank you." One of the other students gets to his feet, determined. He tells the others he'll open a path for them to escape. Asai walks past him towards the massive, sealed door. "Where are you going?" someone asks. Without a word, Asai rears back his fist and punches the steel door, which explodes inwards. He turns back to them, his expression serious. "I've got something I need to do." His real fight is just beginning. Up in the penthouse office, a frantic assistant bursts in over the intercom. "Miss Lei, it's an emergency. Mr. Yang has been defeated and the students have run away." The assistant continues his panicked report. "An incredibly strong guy is headed up. Ack!" The line cuts out with a scream, followed by silence. Lei slams her hand on the desk, her eyes wide with shock. "What in the world happened?" A single casual word breaks the silence. "Yo!" She looks up to see Asai standing calmly in the doorway of her office. Lei jumps to her feet, immediately on guard. "Who are you? Why have you come here?" Asai cuts her off, a cold, knowing smile on his face. "For a simple reason." His eyes flare with the purple light of the void, his gaze locking onto hers. "I've come to pay you back for what you did 20 years ago." Lei Roshi stares at the boy in front of her, his words echoing in the silent office. "A debt from 20 years ago? What are you talking about?" She has no idea who this student is. Asai gives her a cold, condescending look. "You seem confused. Should I spell it out for you?" He begins to walk her down memory lane. "Ever since the SSS rank dungeon 20 years ago," he says, a cruel smile on his face, "you pentagram saints were hailed as heroes." At the mention of that day, Lei's eyes narrow. "Let's say," Asai continues, his voice dripping with sarcasm, "that a certain man's conspiracy was stopped that day." He's quoting the official story, the lie they all built, right back to her. Lei scoffs, turning her back dismissively. "What is a student like you blabbering about? Are you trying to give me a history lecture?" She gazes out at the city she helps rule. The pentagram saints are now leaders across the world, hailed as heroes who vanquished evil. She turns back to him, her expression a mix of annoyance and curiosity. "So what exactly are you? Even so, Asai cuts in, his voice suddenly sharp and cold. That's far from the truth. Lei flinches. What did you say? She demands, sensing a dangerous shift in his aura. His entire presence just changed. Asai's voice drops, filled with venom. You used your own comrades as sacrifices to build your legacy. Images flash through his mind, his old team, her smiling face, and the innocent hope of Karin. Even now, you trample on the ones who stood beside you. Am I wrong? Lei just lets out a short, sharp laugh. And here I was wondering what you were talking about, she says, striking a pose. Don't tell me you believe those ridiculous conspiracy theories. Asai's eyes narrow. It's not a conspiracy. I know what you did. He leans in, his voice a deadly whisper. You pushed your comrades into the gate. The blood drains from Lei's face. Her composure shatters in an instant. Why? She stammers, sweat trickling down her cheek. Why would some random student know about that? It was a secret only the 5 of them were supposed to know. Asai stands before her, the final pieces falling into place. Do you still not get it, Lei? Who I really am? His eyes glow with an ethereal light as the ghost of his past self, the hero Misato, overlays his current form. I am Misato Kyoichiro. Lei's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. Her mind refuses to accept it. That's impossible! She shouts, stumbling backward. But Asai's voice is firm. It did happen. I use the very power that made you once call me a monster, he says, reminding her of her own words from 20 years ago. Her eyes widen in dawning horror. She collapses against a display case, her body trembling. It can't be, Kyoichiro, you're here? The man she betrayed is standing right in front of her. Asai presses his advantage. I also know what this company has been doing in secret. If I bring that to light, your reputation is finished. That threat finally snaps her out of her shock and into a desperate rage. Don't mess with me, she screams. Asai takes a slow, deliberate step forward. Don't mess with you, he repeats, his voice dripping with irony. That should be my line. For what happened 20 years ago, and for trampling on the hopes of an innocent girl. He leans in close, his eyes blazing with fury. I'll never forgive you for that. Gasping on the floor, a defiant smirk returns to Lei's face. Don't underestimate me, she hisses. You're not in Misato's body anymore. She thinks he's weak, just a boy playing hero. Now that you've dared to show yourself before me, she says, pulling a hidden weapon from its sheath. With a furious scream, she unleashes a massive wave of crackling turquoise lightning. I'll make you regret it. The entire office explodes with energy, the floor shattering and furniture tearing to pieces. But Asai stands in the middle of it all, completely untouched, a faint blue aura protecting him. Lei laughs, her body wreathed in electricity. What do you think? This is the power of the weapon developed by my company. It's forged from dungeon materials far tougher than any metal, she boasts, her eyes wild with power. Let me show you just how sharp it really is, she yells, lunging forward in a blur. She unleashes a flurry of slashes, each one crackling with destructive energy, faster than the eye can see. But every single attack misses its mark. Asai dodges them all with minimal effort. Is that it? She scoffs. Looks like dodging is the only thing you're good at. But even as she taunts him, a seed of doubt plants itself in her mind. Something's wrong. Why can't she hit him? I see, Asai says calmly, as if he's just figured out a simple puzzle. He effortlessly sidesteps another attack, getting right in her face. You've been too busy playing corporate queen. Your moves have gotten sloppy. A cruel smile spreads across his face. You're no better than Iwako now. The comparison to her pathetic, cowardly comrade infuriates her. Enough of your nonsense, she shrieks, putting all her power into one final massive slash that engulfs him completely. Her eyes are wide with manic glee. I did it! It hit him! A calm voice cuts through the smoke and electricity. Too bad. The energy dissipates, revealing Asai standing unharmed, wreathed in blue flames that neutralized her attack. Lei stumbles back, her confidence shattered. Why you? She stares at him, her mind racing. Was that void magic? I've never heard of it taking effect like this. Her eyes fall to the sword in her hand. If that's the case, she channels a new power, her sword erupting in blazing orange flames. I'll finish him with this next blow, she declares, raising the flaming sword high. I'll make sure to shut that mouth of yours. Take this. she screams, bringing the blade down in a fiery arc. A massive wave of fire crashes down towards Asai. The flaming blade is inches from his face when he stops it cold, catching the razor-sharp, superheated edge between two fingers. Lei's eyes widen in absolute disbelief. "No way!" Asai looks up at her, his expression one of pure disappointment. "I guess that's all your power amounts to." A tear of frustration escapes her eye. He's right. He tells her she's even worse than she was 20 years ago. If she can't beat him with her own power, then she has no choice but to use that. She kicks off the floor, creating distance between them. "What are you?" Asai begins to ask, but stops. He watches her, a look of shocked realization on his face. He knows what she's about to do. With a crazed, triumphant grin, Lei holds up the syringe filled with the red experimental substance, and without a moment's hesitation, she plunges the needle into her own neck. Asai throws up a barrier of void magic as a violent purple energy explodes from her body. He looks on with grim resolve as she undergoes the horrifying transformation. "You're going that far," he thinks to himself. The dark energy swirls around her, her body twisting and contorting into something monstrous and inhuman. She looks at him, her eyes glowing with a malevolent purple light, a wicked grin on her face. She has become the very thing he once feared she was, a monster. Wreathed in dark purple energy, Lei Ruoxi laughs, her voice a monstrous rasp. Her body is twisted, her skin covered in reptilian scales. "You can't beat me now," she declares, convinced of her newfound power. Asai looks at her with disdain. "So you're trying to win by using some enhancement formula?" he asks, unimpressed. "Do you really think it's that easy?" "Don't underestimate me," she snarls. "Do you have any idea how much time and money went into this?" She boasts about her years of work, gathering priceless materials from the deepest dungeons and spending countless hours refining the serum. "Ever since I witnessed that inhuman power 20 years ago," she says, referring to Misato's own strength, "I've been chasing a way to reach that level." A wicked grin spreads across her transformed face. "And now, I've found the power that surpasses everything. I should thank you for that, Kyoichiro." Asai's response is a single, contemptuous word, pathetic. The word hits her like a physical blow. Her eyes flash with rage. "Surpasses everything, you say?" Asai mocks. "You're bragging like that while relying on a cheap power-up? What did you just say?" She seethes, her pride wounded. Asai takes a step forward, his patience gone. "Sorry to interrupt your little monologue, but it's time I put an end to this." His body erupts in a brilliant, fiery aura. "The time for talking is over." "Fine!" she screams. "Let's decide once and for all who's stronger." They both explode from their positions, their clash creating a massive shockwave that tears the room apart. "Brace yourself!" she yells, lunging at him with clawed hands. Their fists meet in a cataclysmic impact, raw power grinding against raw power, shattering the floor beneath them. They trade blows at blinding speed. Lei unleashes a massive beam of dark energy. "What do you think? This is the fruit of my research. I'll send you back to the afterlife." The beam slams into Asai. In the smoke, Lei lands a solid hit, a triumphant, savage grin on her face. "I won!" But her victory is short-lived. She looks down to see a shimmering, light blue blade of pure energy piercing through her stomach. "This is—" From behind her, Asai's voice is calm. "I planted that when you launched your attack." "You? How?" She gasps, the pain and shock overwhelming her. "Thanks to your goons using it earlier," he explains, his hand glowing with the same golden aura. "I figured out how you use body enhancement magic." He looks at her defeated form. "Your little experiment is impressive, sure, but all it did was stir up a gust. Her ultimate power was nothing more than a breeze to him." "You dare mock the results of my research," she snarls, enraged. "Don't give me that nonsense," Asai says, his voice laced with disgust. His face contorts with genuine rage. "You trample over people, and you have the audacity to call that progress? You make me sick." His words strike her harder than any physical blow. Fueled by pure fury, Lei lunges one last time. "Silence!" she shrieks, putting every last ounce of her borrowed power into a final, desperate attack. Asai simply raises a hand. The moment her claw touches his fingers, a new, terrifying magic activates. Not fire, not lightning, but something else, something absolute. The borrowed power drains from her body instantly. Her eyes, once glowing with purple energy, go dark. She collapses to the floor, her transformation reverting, her strength gone. My power? It's not working? Asai looks down at his hand, a little surprised himself. He'd imagined a magic that nullifies all others, the attribute of death. This is his true strength. He stands over her broken form, her memories and power wiped clean. Lei, he says to her unconscious body, that was never real power to begin with. Sometime later, Asai exits the destroyed skyscraper. A voice calls out his name. Kyosuke. It's Karin running towards him, relieved. He's glad to see she's okay. Just then, a swarm of reporters rushes past them. Hey, it's just like the tip said. The Lei company was attacked. Karen turns to him, a knowing smile on her face. Was that you? Asai just smirks back. Who knows? With this, his plan is complete. The truth about Lei's crimes is out. The other students are safe, and she has lost everything. Karin gets his attention, her expression turning serious. I still don't really get what's going on, she says, but if you hadn't been there, I don't think I'd be here right now. So, really, she looks him straight in the eye, her voice filled with sincere gratitude. Thank you. For a moment, Asai is taken aback. He gives her a small, genuine smile. Right. He'd almost forgotten what this felt like, helping others. That used to mean everything to him, back when he was Misato Kyoichiro, the hero. Later that night, the news is everywhere. A reporter announces that illegal human experiments were discovered in a secret lab owned by Lei Ruoji of the Pentagram Saints. Asai watches the broadcast. The news anchor adds that the discovery came after Lei was attacked by an unknown assailant. The report shows Lei being carried away on a stretcher, completely broken. The anchor mentions she's showing signs of memory loss, and the attacker remains a mystery. Asai adjusts his tie. I wonder how the rest of them will react. Just then, the broadcast is interrupted by breaking news. A new face appears on screen. Nathaniel of the Pentagram Saints has issued a public statement. The name hits Asai like a lightning bolt. Nathaniel. A wave of pure hatred washes over him. Nathaniel stands before the cameras, his expression somber. He announces he is there to deliver an urgent message on behalf of the Pentagram Saints. He claims they are devastated by Lei's incident. As her comrades, Nathaniel says, his face a perfect mask of regret, we feel deep shame that we didn't notice Lei's descent into darkness. Asai's face twists in a snarl of disgust. Didn't notice? He repeats. So the Pentagram Saints are going to pretend they know nothing, again. He slams the remote, remembering their lies. It's just like what they did 20 years ago. Images of his treacherous former comrades flash in his mind. These people haven't changed one bit. They lie without blinking, all to protect their precious status. People like him, and innocent kids like Karin, were never sacrifices to them, just stepping stones. He remembers Nathaniel Cavell clearly now. Based on his actions back then, he was likely the one who led the charge to betray him. But Nathaniel was always a calculating, cautious man. No one has been able to track him down. Fine then, Asai says to himself. He picks up his phone, ready to make his next move. Elsewhere, in a grand cathedral, a woman in white robes kneels in prayer. An attendant approaches her. That is what he said, Lady Claudia. Claudia, the saintess, finishes her prayer. Lord, please guide us to a future filled with light. She maintains her holy facade, even in private. In a high-tech gym, another figure is called. Lord Ingolf. The council meeting is about to begin. The massive, muscular man sets down his weights. Got it. I'll be there right away. Auchenolf grits his teeth, his face a mask of fury. Lei, you fool! What were you thinking? We see Nathaniel in a dark room, standing before a large screen where the faces of Claudia and Ingolf are displayed. All right, everyone, he says, a calm, commanding tone in his voice. With his former teammates assembled, Nathaniel makes the official call. Let's begin the Pentagram Saints Council. The real game is about to begin. In a secure, digital meeting room, Nathaniel Cavell brings the council to a close. The faces of his fellow Pentagram Saints, Claudia, Ingolf, and one other flicker on the screen as he announces that the matter is concluded. Claudia scoffs, her voice dripping with disdain. She seems less concerned about Lei's illegal experiments and more annoyed that they were exposed for the world to see. Ingolf, a mountain of a man, is far more blunt. He roars about the shame Lei has brought upon the proud name of the Pentagram Saints. A fourth, calmer voice simply agrees. Nathaniel cuts through the noise, laying down the official story. He states with cold finality that the experiments were conducted by Lei, and Lei alone. He makes it crystal clear the rest of them had no knowledge of her actions. It's a clean break, a simple lie to sacrifice one of their own and protect the rest. Listening in from another location, Iwako shivers. This is just like Nathaniel, always cutting his losses without a second thought, pinning all the blame on Lei and casting her aside. But Iwako knows the truth. He's certain that Nathaniel, at the very least, must have known what Lei was doing. To abandon a comrade of 20 years so easily, a cold sweat traces its way down Iwako's spine. He's reminded of just how ruthless their leader truly is. But he can't dwell on that. Right now, he has orders to follow, not from Nathaniel, but from Asai. Back in the meeting, the fourth member expresses curiosity about the attacker. Nathaniel turns his attention to Iwako's screen, prompting him to speak. With a tremor in his voice, Iwako delivers the prepared line. He reports that a sealed letter has arrived, sent by the one who took down Lei. Nathaniel's eyes narrow with interest. He orders Iwako to read the letter aloud. Iwako's hands shake as he holds the message, the words feeling like his own death sentence. He nervously agrees to read it. He begins to read Asai's words, his voice echoing in the silent room. "I have returned to this world from the inside of that gate. I will deal with all of you, so just you wait." The message is short, simple, and a clear declaration of war. And it's signed with a name they thought was buried forever in the past, Misato Kiyoichiro, the hero they betrayed. Claudia is the first to break the stunned silence, wondering if it's just an imposter using his name. But Nathaniel immediately shuts her down. He points out that no one else could possibly know about the inside of that gate. There's no doubt in his mind the sender is the real Kyoichiro. Claudia briefly wonders if he used his legendary time magic, but quickly regains her composure. She dismisses the threat, claiming they have nothing to worry about. Ingolf growls in agreement. If Kyoichiro is truly back, then they just have to put him down for good this time. Nathaniel closes the meeting, agreeing with Ingolf. He sees no reason for them to act rashly. However, a cunning, calculating smile spreads across his face. He suggests they sit back and watch. Let Kyoichiro make the first move and reveal what he's planning. Later, Ingolf stands alone in his office after the call. He stares out the window, his thoughts consumed by a single name, Kyoichiro. His face twists into a mask of pure, unadulterated hatred. He mutters that Kyoichiro is the one person he will never ever forgive. Meanwhile, Asai gets the report from his pawn. Iwako confirms the message was delivered, and Asai simply acknowledges it. He leans back, a picture of calm. So, Nathaniel is playing it safe, waiting to see what happens. That's fine by him. He knows that once the Saints truly grasp that he's back, their caution will shatter. He picks up a file, his strategy already in motion. Time to strike at the targets whose locations are already known. He tells Iwako it's time to make their next move. Over the phone, a nervous Iwako asks what the plan is. Asai's reply is deceptively casual, saying it's nothing too difficult. A wicked grin lights up his face. He tells Iwako to arrange a transfer for him to an academy with ties to Ingolf. Iwako realizes the implication. Ingolf is the next target. Asai confirms it, mentioning a short-term study program to Lanzig Academy as the perfect cover story. Iwako tries to warn him. Ingolf isn't like him or Lei. He has a clean reputation, with no rumors of corruption to exploit. Asai isn't bothered in the slightest. Even so, he says, he needs to see the man's face for himself. He tells Iwako to handle the paperwork and ends the call, his plan set. He stands on his balcony, the city lights sprawling out beneath him like a web. It doesn't matter if Ingolf has a clean record now. 20 years ago, he was a traitor. And for that betrayal, Asai will make him pay. Soon, a plane slices through the afternoon sky. Back at his old academy, Karin watches it go from her classroom window. A small, knowing smile touches her lips as she wishes him a safe journey. The plane's wheels screech against the tarmac as it lands. Asai walks through the airport terminal, a lone figure in a foreign land. The next stage of his revenge has officially begun. So this is Germany. He takes a moment to absorb the new atmosphere, a man on a mission. His destination is an impressive, classical-style building up ahead. He's already confirmed that this country's academy is connected to Ingolf. his eyes narrow with focus. This academy will be his gateway to his third target. For now, the plan is simple: head over and enroll. As he walks, a commotion up ahead catches his attention. He sighs, annoyed by the persistent shouting. He sees a group of guys crowding around a single girl. He notes her features, realizing she's also from Japan. Then it clicks. They're speaking a different language. Not a problem. A small orb of void magic forms on his fingertip, and their words begin to translate in his mind. Now he can understand. One of the thugs is telling her to stop being so difficult. Another one leans in close, his voice a slimy drawl, promising to show her a good time if she just comes with them. The girl, a fiery look in her eyes and a distinct red streak in her hair, isn't intimidated. She tells them this is exactly why she called them persistent, refusing to hang out with a bunch of thugs. Her defiance snaps something in the leader. He grabs her by the collar, snarling that she needs to be taught a lesson. He pulls back his fist, ready to strike, but a calm voice cuts through the air. "Hey!" Asai stands nearby, looking completely bored by the whole situation. He tells them to get lost and leave her alone. The thug whips around, furious. "Who do you think you are?" The girl looks over, surprised to see another Japanese student there to help. Asai's voice drops, turning dangerously cold. "I told you to leave her alone, you trash! You little punk!" The thug roars, his fist igniting in flames as he lunges forward. His friends power up their own magic, yelling at Asai not to underestimate them. The fiery fist flies straight for Asai's face. But before it can connect, a massive torrent of emerald green wind erupts from Asai in a silent, devastating wave. The thugs are thrown back like rag dolls, knocked out cold before they even hit the ground. The girl can only stare, her mind reeling. He took them all out in a single hit. A new articulate voice breaks the sudden silence. My! A group of uniformed students approaches. Their leader, a girl with long silver hair, takes in the scene. The unconscious thugs, and the boy who defeated them, her eyes wide with disbelief. Just what kind of student was he? Asai's first day in Germany, and he's already left his mark. The thugs he just flattened are scrambling to their feet, bowing frantically and apologizing as they flee the scene. The girl he saved approaches him, a little hesitant. She stammers out, thank you, but Asai, ever cool, simply tells her not to worry about it. He glances at the crowd of onlookers, phones already out and recording. Noting that they've drawn way too much attention, he suggests they should probably get going. The girl quickly agrees. As they walk away, she glances back at him. A thoughtful, distant look crosses her face, as if watching him fight stirred up an old memory. Her mind drifts back to another time, another person. The last time someone saved her like this was when she met him. They find a quieter path, walking beneath a stone bridge that cuts through the picturesque German town. For a moment, an awkward silence hangs between them. The girl breaks the silence, getting his attention. Asai turns to face her, his expression neutral. With a hand placed over her heart, she offers him a sincere thank you, explaining that because of him, a bad situation didn't get any worse. Asai repeats that it was nothing, internally brushing off her earnestness. He figures she must just be a very polite person. But as he looks at her, a faint sense of familiarity sparks in his mind. He feels like he's seen her somewhere before, but the memory just won't surface. She changes the subject, pointing to his uniform. She asks if he's a student from Japan, and he confirms that he is. Asai explains that he just arrived today for a short-term exchange program and was on his way to the training academy. A small, friendly smile touches her lips. As a way to thank him, she offers to guide him there herself. Asai accepts, figuring it couldn't hurt. For a moment, they stand there, two Japanese students finding a brief connection in a foreign country. As they start walking again, she asks if he's traveling the world. He gives a vague, yeah, adding only that he has his reasons. His mysterious answer makes her pause, her curiosity piqued. Asai studies her for a moment. It's not every day you see a girl their age traveling completely on her own. He asks if it's dangerous for her to be alone, especially since she seems to attract the wrong kind of attention. She waves off his concern with a cheerful, "Oh, I'm fine," claiming she knows a few spells. Asai isn't convinced, remembering she still needed saving from those thugs. She deftly steers the conversation back to him, asking about the academy he's heading to. He asks if there's something he should know about it. She explains that Lanzig Academy is famous for one thing: it's strictly merit-based, with a rigid class ranking system that the students take very seriously. In this school, the students have built their own social hierarchy, a ladder where your position is determined by one thing and one thing only: your strength. Asai processes this information instantly. He understands. This place is even more obsessed with power than the academies back home. His thoughts flash back to the intel he got from Iwako. His target, Ingolf, personally trains the academy's top-ranking students. And just like that, the path forward becomes perfectly clear. If he wants to get close to Ingolf, he'll just have to make a big splash. A confident, predatory smirk spreads across his face. This is exactly the kind of playground he was hoping for. Right on cue, she points ahead to a massive, castle-like campus looming in the distance. She tells him that's Lanzig Training Academy, standing before a long bridge leading to the entrance. Asai tells her this is far enough and thanks her for the help. She just smiles, saying he's the one who deserves thanks. She realizes they never properly introduced themselves and extends a hand. "I'm Shirato Sayuki," she says with a warm smile. "Got it," he replies, taking her hand. "Asai Kyosuke." The moment the name leaves his lips, Sayuki's friendly expression freezes. Her eyes widen just slightly, a flicker of shock passing over her face. She repeats his name softly, "Asai Kyosuke?" Noticing her strange reaction, he asks her what's wrong. She quickly recovers, waving it off as nothing. She explains that his name just sounds like someone she used to know. Asai accepts the excuse, but the moment feels off. Sayuki turns to leave, wishing him good luck at the academy. Asai gives a simple thanks in return. He watches her walk away, her name echoing in his thoughts. Shirato Sayuki. Something about her just feels significant. Turning his attention back to the colossal academy before him, he steels himself. It's time to get started. He takes his first step towards the entrance, ready to begin the next chapter of his revenge. But before he gets far, a sharp voice calls out, "Hey, you there!" Asai stops, glancing over his shoulder. A student with fiery red hair and a cocky smirk is perched on a nearby wall. He asks if Asai is the new transfer student from Japan, then tells him to come over. Asai, completely unimpressed, calls him a delinquent? The red-haired guy hops down, annoyed, asking who he's calling a delinquent. He cracks his knuckles as he approaches, saying it's not often they get a student from Japan, and he doubts Asai is anything special. A sinister purple aura flares to life around him. He tells Asai that, just so there are no misunderstandings, he's going to give him a little welcome ceremony. Asai just sighs, a look of pure annoyance on his face. He can't believe he's already run into some weirdo right at the front gate. He recalls what Sayuki just told him about this school. This must be the meritocracy she was talking about in action. It's obvious this guy wants to test his strength. A cold grin touches Asai's lips. He drops his bag. "Fine," he says. "I'll play with you." The red-haired student is thrilled he didn't back down. Without another word, he yells, "Let's go!" and slams his fists into the ground. The pavement cracks as he unleashes his magic, roaring, "Eat this!" as a wave of sharpened earth projectiles shoots from the ground, hurtling toward Asai. Dozens of stone spikes tear through the air, a deadly storm meant to overwhelm and impale the newcomer. But as the dust clears, the student's cocky grin vanishes, replaced by pure, slack-jawed shock. Asai stands completely unharmed behind a wall of swirling fire that incinerated every single spike. He calmly critiques the attack, noting that while the quantity was decent, the power behind it was pathetic. Then, Asai shows him what real power is. The ground beneath the red-haired student's feet suddenly erupts in a massive pillar of rock, launching him into the air. He's thrown helplessly into the sky, caught in an attack so powerful it's on a completely different dimension from his own. He crashes back down, tumbling across the stone courtyard, his uniform torn and his pride shattered. Defeated in a single, effortless move. He looks back in absolute terror, unable to form a coherent thought. What kind of monster is he? The question screams in his mind, his confidence utterly broken. Asai simply looks down on him, his expression cold and unimpressed. The scene shifts. Elsewhere, Shirato Sayuki stands alone, looking out over the city. She's on the phone, her voice now flat and professional. "Yes, that's right, Lady Claudia." In her hand is a file, clearly marked Target, with Asai's photo front and center. She reports that she has successfully made contact with Asai Kyosuke, Her friendly persona is gone, replaced by the chilling demeanor of an operative. "I'll remain in Germany," she confirms, and continue to observe him. It seems Asai hasn't just entered enemy territory, he's walked straight into a carefully laid trap. A new school, a new battlefield. For Asai, this academy isn't about education, it's just another step on the path to his next target. Having dealt with his impromptu welcoming committee, Asai finishes his enrollment, receiving a brand new student ID for the Lanzig Training Academy. With the formalities out of the way, he has exactly what he needs. This card grants him access to the local dungeons, where he can start making a name for himself. He examines the card using a quick auto-translate spell. The layout is a little different from the ones back in Japan. It displays his name, attribute, level, and a point counter, currently sitting at 0. This must be the point system Sayuki mentioned, a way for the school to track every student's performance. A confident smirk plays on his lips. With no classes scheduled for the day, he figures he might as well go check out what a German dungeon has to offer. Asai walks through the academy's grand halls, his footsteps echoing in the vast empty space. But he's not entirely alone. Hiding behind a pillar, the red-haired student he just defeated, Albert, watches him go with a tense and conflicted expression. The humiliating loss is clearly still fresh in his mind. Asai continues on, his mind already focused on the next phase of his plan. He runs through the strategy one more time. To get close to Ingolf, he needs to stand out. And in a school obsessed with power, there's only one way to do that. Standing before a glowing purple dungeon gate, he knows he has to climb the ranks and get into the special class, the one Ingolf personally trains. Without a moment's hesitation, he steps towards the portal. The plan is simple: rack up points, starting right here in this high-level dungeon. Inside, the air is cold and stale. He finds himself surrounded by ancient, crumbling ruins, shrouded in an oppressive darkness. Well then, he thinks to himself, let's see what kind of monsters we're dealing with. As if on cue, hulking skeletal figures begin to rise from the rubble, their empty eye sockets glowing with an eerie blue light. He sizes them up. Heavily armored skeletons, undead, and powerful ones at that. He notes that he never encountered this specific type back in Japan. But it makes no difference. A dangerous glint appears in his eye as fire ignites in his palm. Thanks to his decades of experience as Misato Kyoichiro, he already knows exactly how to take them down. He moves in a blur, effortlessly dodging a clumsy swing from one skeleton while charging an attack of his own. The knowledge from his past life is basically a cheat code. He knows the undead are incredibly weak to two things: blunt force and holy fire, and he's more than happy to give them both. He unleashes a powerful blast of pure concussive force, infused with searing flames. The attack slams into the monsters, shattering their bones to pieces and incinerating what's left. He lands gracefully as the entire undead squad crumbles to dust around him. For him, this is barely a warm-up. The few remaining skeletons seem to freeze, as if confused by the sudden annihilation of their comrades. Asai flashes them a taunting smile, beckoning them forward. "Go on," he challenges. "Come and get me." Sometime later, he stands before a massive, ornate door. The path behind him is a graveyard of shattered bones. This has to be the final chamber, and the boss should be waiting right inside. He steps into the throne room, his eyes scanning the darkness. The air is thick with a heavy magical presence. At the far end of the room, a powerful figure floats menacingly above a throne. It's a lich, a high-level undead mage, wreathed in crackling blue spectral fire. Asai can feel its oppressive aura wash over him. He doesn't give it a chance to make the first move. Fire swirls in his hand as he decides to test the waters. He launches a massive fireball straight at the dungeon boss. The lich reacts instantly, conjuring a swirling vortex of dark, corrosive magic. The two spells collide in a brilliant explosion of fire and shadow, momentarily lighting up the entire room. Asai watches as his fireball is completely neutralized. He's not surprised. This is a dungeon boss, after all. The lich doesn't give him a moment to breathe. It gathers a huge orb of dark energy, preparing a devastating counterattack. A powerful beam of destructive magic shoots out, tearing through the air and melting the very stone beneath it as it screams toward Asai. He barely dodges, gritting his teeth as the force of the blast singes the air next to him. He can feel the raw power radiating from the scorched stone. That dark magic seems to dissolve anything it touches. It's a seriously high-tier spell. But as he analyzes its properties, a cunning smirk spreads across his face. He thinks he can use this. With his void attribute, copying magic is his specialty. He starts to move, dodging another volley of dark orbs. Concentrating wind magic at his feet, he boosts his speed, rapidly closing the distance to the Lich. He zips through the barrage of attacks, the destructive energy beams missing him by mere inches. Weaving through the deadly spellfire, he gets closer and closer. In a flash, he's right in the Lich's face. The undead mage seems momentarily confused by his reckless approach. Asai holds out his hands, a swirling orb of identical dark magic forming between them. With a cold gaze, he says, "Let's see if you can handle your own spell." He shoves the copied magic directly into the Lich's chest. The boss recoils as its own corrosive power begins to tear it apart from the inside out. The Lich is consumed by its own magic, erupting in a massive explosion that sends a shockwave rippling through the chamber. Asai stands calmly amidst the fading blue embers, casually adjusting his tie as if he'd just finished some minor chore. He clenches his fist. The impact was impressive, but because the spell was so high level, he couldn't replicate it perfectly. He makes a mental note. He still needs to level up his void attribute to perfectly copy the truly powerful stuff. But just as he's about to leave, his senses flare. He's not alone. He turns towards the entrance and calls out into the shadows, "I know you're there. Come on out." From the darkness, a shamed and defeated Albert emerges. A nervous smile plays on Albert's lips. He didn't think Asai would have noticed him hiding there. He steps forward, admitting that he watched the whole fight and hopes Asai doesn't mind. Asai's expression hardens with annoyance. He assumes Albert is back for a rematch, thinking the guy is a glutton for punishment. But something feels off. Asai narrows his eyes, sensing a strange, almost desperate energy coming from Albert. He can tell the guy is hiding his true intentions. Figuring it's time to settle this for good, he braces for another confrontation. Albert takes a deep breath, his eyes suddenly glowing with an intense, unwavering determination as he rushes forward. Asai immediately tenses, preparing for an attack. He wonders if Albert is using some kind of power-up, or maybe has a hidden weapon. But instead of attacking, Albert drops to his knees and slams his forehead to the ground in a perfect Japanese dogeza. "Please," he screams, "take me as your disciple." Asai is completely stunned, his brain short-circuiting at the bizarre turn of events. Huh? He watches, dumbfounded, as Albert pulls out a traditional Japanese sake cup, wondering what on earth is happening. Albert explains that he researched the dogeza and read that you're supposed to exchange sake cups as a sign of loyalty. Asai can only think one thing: this guy is a complete idiot. Albert pleads with him, admitting that he's completely captivated by Asai's overwhelming strength. He begs Asai to teach him. Asai just stares, thinking this has to be a joke. With genuine awe in his voice, Albert says the fight he just witnessed was on another level. He feels like a fool for ever challenging someone so powerful. Asai sighs, pinching the bridge of his nose. Great, he thinks. Now things are getting complicated. But before he can respond, his eyes snap wide open. He feels a sudden, immense surge of magical energy from beneath the floor. Albert is still on the ground, asking once more if Asai will take him in. Suddenly, the entire dungeon begins to shake violently. The ground cracks and explodes upwards in a shower of rock and debris. From the massive chasm, the colossal skeletal remains of a dragon begin to rise, its bones crackling with the same dark energy as the Lich. Albert stares up in pure, unadulterated terror. Asai looks at the monstrous beast, a grim expression on his face. He realizes the Lich wasn't the final boss after all. The real challenge has just begun. Mateo scrambles backward, his face pale with fear as he tries to process what he's seeing. Asai calmly glances over and asks him what's wrong. He says he's seen this monster in textbooks. With dread lacing his voice, he explains that it's a skull dragon, a legendary beast that wiped an entire village off the map ages ago. He adds that according to the stories, Ingolf himself, one of the legendary pentagram saints, was the one who barely managed to bring it down. Asai's expression darkens. A monster Ingolf supposedly killed is standing right here? Asai simply says, "I see," as he starts walking forward, his eyes locked on the beast. Mateo leaps to his feet, yelling for him to wait. He can't believe Asai is actually going to fight it, screaming that it's beyond reckless. Asai cuts him off with a single word: "Relax." Then, with a cold, dismissive tone, he drops a bombshell. Ingolf wasn't the one who killed it. Mateo can only stare, his mind struggling to comprehend what he just heard. Looking at the dragon, it all clicks into place for Asai. The lie is so obvious now. It would have been inconvenient for the Pentagram Saints to admit that Misato Kyoichiro was the one who actually slayed this beast. A bitter, mocking smile curls his lips, so they just stole his victory and rewrote history to fit their narrative. Pathetic cowards, as always. Fine then. If the monster is back for round 2, he'll just have to put it down himself. Again. The dragon lets out a deafening roar, its ancient bones rattling with power. Asai's eyes narrow with lethal focus. "All right," he says, steeling himself. "Let's do this." The dragon unleashes a torrent of freezing breath, a deadly blizzard aimed right for them. Mateo screams a warning, but Asai is already in motion. He grabs Mateo by the collar, yanking him out of the way just as the blast of absolute zero ice tears through the space where they were standing. Mateo yells as they tumble to safety, the ground around them freezing solid in an instant. Asai clicks his tongue in annoyance. He notes that this dragon feels even stronger than the one he fought 20 years ago. But it doesn't change a thing. He dodges another attack and prepares his counter. "Take this," he says, channeling his magic into his palm. A massive wave of brilliant orange fire erupts from his hand. The inferno slams into the dragon head, the force powerful enough to shatter its bones and send the massive skeleton flying backward. He lands lightly, smoke curling from his fingertips as the beast crashes into the far wall of the chamber. Mateo is screaming with amazement, shouting, "Did you see that? Your spell blew it away, master." Asai gives him a deadpan look, thinking he's awfully energetic for someone who was just calling this reckless. But Asai cuts him short, telling him not to celebrate just yet. "It's not over." Mateo looks back, confused, just in time to see the dragon's shattered bones knitting themselves back together, glowing with dark, restorative energy. He stammers, realizing with horror that it's regenerating. Asai explains with the cold confidence of an expert. A skull dragon has incredible stamina. Any half-hearted attack will just be shrugged off. Mateo can only wonder how he could possibly know that. Asai admits to himself that the beast is tougher than he remembers. In that case, there's only one thing left to do. Mateo watches, his mind racing, wondering what Asai could possibly do against an immortal monster. The fully regenerated dragon lets out another earth-shaking roar and lunges forward. It whips its massive bladed tail with lightning speed, aiming to slice them both in two. Asai raises a hand, conjuring a magical barrier to block the devastating attack. He grits his teeth as the sheer force of the blow pushes him back across the stone floor. Mateo watches from the sidelines, realizing that Asai is stuck on the defensive, only able to block. But Asai's mind is already working. Not yet, he thinks to himself. He just needs to sharpen the image. This is the true power of his void magic, creation from pure imagination. The clearer the image in his mind, the more devastating the power he can unleash. A new kind of magic, a brilliant blue energy, begins to swirl around his hands as the dragon attacks again. But this time, Asai doesn't block. He sidesteps the attack, his hand now glowing with an intense, otherworldly cold. Mateo screams out his name, thinking he's made a fatal mistake. He watches in horror as Asai moves directly into the monster's path. As the dragon snaps its massive jaws shut, Asai calmly reaches out and grabs its upper jaw with his bare hand. The moment he makes contact, a wave of absolute zero energy floods from his palm, instantly encasing the dragon's skull in ice. "And with this," he says calmly, "it's over." The freezing energy spreads like a contagion, cascading down the dragon's entire skeletal frame. The beast lets out a final, gurgling cry as its bones are trapped in a tomb of jagged, expanding ice. In mere seconds, the entire colossal monster is frozen solid, a grotesque statue marking its own grave. Mateo can only stare, sweat beading on his forehead, completely lost for words. Incredible! He's just too strong. This new transfer student isn't just powerful, he's on a completely different plane of existence. Back outside the dungeon, Mateo chases after Asai, who is already walking away. "Hey!" he yells. "Please wait up, master!" Asai glances back, asking what's with the sudden formal language. Mateo just grins, saying it's a sign of respect. Asai is studying his ID card. Mateo asks if something is wrong. Asai confirms he was just checking how many points he earned from that run. He turns to Mateo, asking him how much the points actually affect his class rank. Mateo explains that as a rule of thumb, every 10,000 points gets you a promotion. To reach the special class, the highest tier, you need a total of 30,000. Unfortunately, he adds, dungeon points are a flat rate. Slaying a legendary skull dragon doesn't give you any kind of bonus. Asai looks at his card. He earned 500 points. He does the math in his head. At this rate, he'd have to clear that dungeon 600 more times to qualify. He sighs. Getting into the special class is going to be a serious grind. Hearing this, Mateo excitedly asks if Asai is really aiming for the top. He then leans in with a conspiratorial grin, saying there is a shortcut to rack up points all at once. Asai's demeanor shifts instantly. He gets right in Mateo's face, his eyes glowing with intensity as he commands, "Spill it." A terrified Mateo squeaks that in 1 month, the Academy is holding its annual Sublime Heaven Festival. He explains, it's a massive tournament where students compete against each other in a series of challenges, and the grand prize for the winner is a whopping 20,000 points. Asai's eyes widen. That's more than enough. If he wins, he can close the distance to Ingolf in a single, decisive move. He clenches his fist, his path forward now crystal clear. With absolute resolve, he declares that he will take first place in this so-called festival. A month passes in a blur of relentless preparation. The day of the Sublime Heaven Festival has finally arrived. Under a clear blue sky, the announcer's voice booms across the packed stadium, officially kicking off the event. Mateo buzzes with excitement beside Asai. "It's finally happening, Master." Asai just gives a calm, simple, "Yeah." His gaze is locked straight ahead, his mind focused entirely on the prize. If he wins this, he'll finally earn enough points to get into the special class. And then he'll be one step closer to the man who betrayed him 20 years ago. The image of Ingolf's face flashes in his mind, stoking the cold fire of his revenge. The announcer lays out the mission. Be the first team to claim the gemstone at the very top of the central tower. The method doesn't matter. Fight dirty, play fair, it's all the same. This is a no-holds-barred free-for-all. "Show us the strength you've honed," the announcer roars, and the crowd erupts in a deafening cheer. Asai smirks. A competition based on pure, unfiltered power. It's exactly the kind of event he expected from this place. And for him, it's perfect. Mateo pumps his fist, completely fired up. "Master! We're taking that top spot no matter what," Asai thinks back. When he first heard it was a 2-person team event, he wasn't sure what he would do. But luckily for him, he had the perfect, overly eager candidate right on hand. A quick flashback shows him pointing at Mateo, who immediately drops to the ground, honored to accept. Just then, a familiar voice calls out his name. "Hey there, Kyosuke, it's Shirato." She says she thought she'd drop by to watch him in action. Mateo immediately starts blushing, asking who the cute girl is and if she's Asai's girlfriend. Asai responds with a sharp chop to the head, telling him not to be an idiot. Suddenly, a murmur goes through the crowd as someone shouts, "Hey, look over there!" All eyes turn to the VIP viewing box high above the arena. And there he is, a large, rugged man with a short beard and an overwhelming presence. Asai's eyes narrow. Ingolf. The sight of his target makes the rage within him stir. The face of one of the traitors is right there, watching him. An Academy official welcomes Lord Ingolf, honored by his presence. Ingolf just waves it off, saying he was curious to see the festival for himself. He scans the students below, wondering if there are any true prodigies among them. Down in the arena, Asai glares up at him, his hatred a palpable force. The announcer gives the final command, "Students, into the tower!" With that, the festival is officially underway. Asai and Mateo step inside. The interior is a vast, circular chamber with a winding staircase spiraling up the walls. Other teams are already spreading out, sizing each other up. Mateo is ready to charge, but before they can move, several other teams rush past, eager to get a head start. Suddenly, a flash of green light erupts, and a massive, monstrous wolf with glowing red eyes materializes on the path. Mateo gasps. Monsters, right from the start? He realizes they're releasing beasts to thin the herd. He nervously turns to Asai, asking what they should do, but by the time he turns around, Asai is already gone. In a blinding flash of orange light, Asai appears before the wolf and unleashes a torrent of fire, incinerating the beast in a single, effortless blast. Mateo can only stare, dumbfounded. Asai turns back to him, the smoldering remains of the monster at his feet. "What are you waiting for?" he asks. "Let's go." Mateo snaps out of his stupor and scrambles to catch up, shouting, "Right! On my way!" Asai's overwhelming speed and power immediately draw the crowd's attention. Up in the VIP box, Ingolf takes notice. "Huh. A Japanese student," he remarks, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. The students in the crowd are buzzing, shocked that the new kid just one-shotted the monster. Shirato watches with a small, knowing smile, thinking that he's just as extraordinary as she expected. Meanwhile, Mateo is having a slightly tougher time, barely managing to take down a wolf with a desperate-looking magic blast. Asai asks if he's okay. Mateo gives a shaky thumbs up, insisting he's still got plenty of fight left in him. "Good. No slowing down then," Asai says, already moving up the stairs. "Let's keep going." They continue their ascent, quickly leaving the other teams and monsters far behind them. As they round a corner, Asai's eyes narrow. He senses something up ahead. "Stop!" he yells, just as the staircase in front of them erupts in a shower of stone and dust, collapsing into a pile of rubble. It was a trap. From the floor above, the rival team who set the trap laughs mockingly down at them. "You're not getting past us!" one of them shouts. Mateo yells back, "You cowards!" "That's a cheap shot," the rival leader cups his ear. "Did he say something? I can't hear you all the way down there." "Guess you'll just have to watch us win, losers," they taunt before running off. Mateo shakes his fist, yelling for them to get back there. He turns to Asai, defeated. "Master, what do we do now?" Asai looks at the massive gap, completely unfazed. "What do you mean?" he asks. "We just fly over it." Mateo is confused. "Fly? But how?" Before he can finish, Asai grabs him, and a powerful whirlwind of green energy envelops them both. Mateo screams as they are lifted into the air, flying straight past the destroyed staircase. A moment later, the rival team reaches the top of the tower, panting. "We did it," one of them says. "This is the final chamber." "That was easier than I thought," the other smirks. "Damn right, like we'd lose to some random transfer student." A calm voice cuts through their celebration. "I wouldn't be so sure about that." They whip around in shock. Asai is standing right behind them, not even breathing hard. "How did you get here?" they scream. Asai gives them a condescending smirk. "I hate to break it to you," he says, "but that little trap of yours barely slowed me down." Mateo appears behind him, pointing a shaky finger. "Yeah, we're not losing to you clowns," he shouts, though he looks like he's about to collapse. The rival team prepares for a fight. "Don't get cocky. We'll crush you ourselves," they declare, launching their spells. Asai's expression remains bored. Too slow. He moves in a blur, appearing between them in an instant. With two swift chops, he knocks them both out before they can even register what happened. The two students crumple to the floor, completely unconscious. Mateo stares in disbelief. "Whoa, I didn't even see him move." Asai casually adjusts his collar, completely unfazed. They step into the final room. There, on a pedestal at the center, rests the prize, a glowing blue gemstone. "Yes," Mateo cheers, pumping his fist. "We're the first ones here," but Asai cuts him off. "No, it's not over yet." As if on cue, the ground around the gemstone begins to glow. Heavily armored knights, crackling with dark magical energy, materialize from the floor, blocking their path. Up in the VIP box, the Academy official is in a panic. "What? What are those armored knights? That wasn't supposed to happen." Beside him, Ingolf just grins, a cruel, predatory look on his face. "Well then, let's see if they can overcome this trial." Down below, Asai and Mateo stand ready, facing down the unexpected final guardians. Up in the VIP box, Ingolf grins, thoroughly amused by the chaos he's created. He remarks that ending things too quickly would just be boring. The Academy official beside him laughs nervously, calling him a cruel man. Ingolf just scoffs, saying that if these students want to be great mages, this little trial is the bare minimum. But, in his mind, he knows the truth. No mere student could possibly break through an army of that size. He leans forward, his eyes fixed on the monitor displaying Asai. He's curious how they'll even attempt to reach the gem. "Let's see what you've got," he mutters, settling in for the show. Down below, Mateo is in a full-blown panic. "Master, what do we do?" he cries out. We can't get the gem without fighting them. We have no other choice. He stares at the wall of armored knights, completely overwhelmed. Defeat them? But there are so many, and they all look incredibly tough. Asai's expression is grim, his jaw set with determination. Even so, he says, his voice low, I have to do this if I want to reach my goal. Seeing the unshakable resolve in his master's eyes, Mateo swallows his fear. Okay. He declares that he'll provide backup, but as he charges forward, a single knight sends him flying with one effortless blow. As another knight lunges at Asai, he doesn't even flinch. He activates body enhancement magic, his muscles glowing with latent power. Fire erupts around his fist as he meets the knight's attack head-on. He punches straight through the golem's enchanted armor, shattering it with a single, explosive impact. The students watching on the monitors gasp in disbelief. With his bare hands, one of them shouts. Asai doesn't stop. He moves through the knights like a storm of pure destruction. He tears through them one by one, sending shattered armor plating flying in every direction. He carves a path of devastation straight through the heart of the enemy lines. Mateo pushes himself off the floor, watching in complete awe. Damn, Master is seriously insane. Ingolf is impressed. He notes that the Japanese kid has some real power. But he knows it's not enough. It won't be that easy, he thinks with a smug grin. And he's right. For every knight Asai destroys, 2 more rise from the ground to take its place. Mateo shouts in despair. They're multiplying again! He can't believe it. What is the school thinking, throwing an impossible challenge like this at us? In the audience, Shirato watches with a grim expression. The other students are already giving up on Asai, saying he has no chance. But she's not so sure. She wants to see how he'll break through this. Everyone is watching. The entire academy, his observer, and his target. All eyes are on Asai Kyosuke. Asai dodges another heavy blow, his mind racing. He does a quick count. There have to be at least 30 of them now. It's a lot. But a memory flashes in his mind. A vision of a real battlefield from his past life, swarming with countless grotesque demons. Compared to that hell, this is child's play. He weaves through the onslaught, analyzing their patterns. Their numbers are truly endless. Even when he uses wind magic to slice through multiple at once, they just keep regenerating. He lands, realizing that picking them off one by one is completely pointless. He needs to wipe them all out with one overwhelming spell. But in a situation like this, he doesn't have time to carefully construct a brand new image for his magic, which means he'll have to use something he's already seen, something powerful he can recreate in an instant. His mind settles on a spell, a complex and destructive magic. He despises the man who created it. The face of his first victim, Iwako, flashes in his memory. But whatever. He shoves the feeling down. Revenge requires pragmatism. Void magic, he thinks. His eyes begin to glow with an immense, terrifying power. Activate. The entire chamber begins to shake as Asai floats into the air, surrounded by swirling chunks of earth and raging currents of wind. Up in the VIP box, Ingolf lurches to his feet, his eyes wide with disbelief. He recognizes that energy signature. That's... Asai forces the 2 opposing elements together, weaving them into a single, devastating spell. Take this, he roars. Wind and earth. It's fusion magic. He unleashes a colossal tornado filled with razor-sharp shards of rock, a vortex of pure destruction that tears through the entire army of knights. The spell rips through the tower itself, shattering the walls and ceiling, obliterating everything in its path. When the dust finally settles, the chamber is in ruins. The once endless army of knights is gone, reduced to nothing but rubble and dust. A clear, unobstructed path now leads straight to the gemstone. Asai calmly walks over and picks it up, a triumphant smirk on his face. Game over. Mateo runs up to him, screaming with joy. You actually did it, Master. The crowd erupts into a thunderous roar, having witnessed the impossible. Shirato is stunned. Fusion magic, he can use that too. A shiver runs down her spine as she realizes the true, terrifying depths of his power. Ingolf stands in silence for a long moment, and then he begins to laugh. A deep, booming laugh. He can't believe it. This student just perfectly cast a spell that took Iwako, one of the Pentagram Saints, 20 years to develop. He looks at Asai, who's busy fending off his overly excited disciple. Asai Kyosuke, was it? Ingolf says to himself. Fascinating. His interest is now completely captured. He turns away from the monitor, a new plan already forming in his mind. "If you make it into the special class," he declares to the empty room, "I'll make sure to train you thoroughly myself." The hunter has successfully made himself the prey's new favorite toy.